Good to have you along. Here it is, 3 and Out on this Wednesday. I'm Kevin Thomas. He is Ben Troop. Thanks for making us a part of your day. And again, SEC Media Days rolling along. It was George's day there at the microphone. Ben, you also had Florida there, Kentucky this afternoon, and Sam Pittman in Arkansas there as well. So a pretty big day there in the ATL. We are efforting David Waters of Gators Breakdown to join us, talking about some of what Billy Napier had to say. Kirby Smart coming out very forcefully, Ben, and saying, look, at Georgia, we're not hunting anybody. We're the hunted. We're coming out, and we're going to stake claim to what we did last year. So a lot of big things there from Kirby Smart, from Billy Napier, as well as you look at the SEC really starting to get into these middle days. It's been Alabama, it's been Georgia, and all the rest of the coaches are getting asked, can any of y'all catch either one of them two at the end of the day?
And rightfully so, right? Kirby Smart is the guy that's obviously ran the gauntlet. I know he made news, days before, Kevin, talking about, just like the rigorousness of being the head coach at the University of Georgia. And maybe he was just speaking for just head coaches, in big-time football in general. And obviously, sometimes even Kirby has to be reminded, every single thing you say, we go off of it. And we're looking for anything that goes against the norm. But a Kirby Smart coach team, they're going to be a team that's going to have a never say die mentality. He's going to coach the last play of the game like he coached the first play of the game. But now, Kevin, this is the first of many for Kirby Smart in Georgia because it's the encore. Okay, you finally got that, that 40-year-old gorilla off your back. Now, what's going to be the encore? Because now, Kevin, you're going to get scrutinized when you're at Georgia. That's just how it goes. Even in a win, it's, okay, well, they should have did this on third down. Or I didn't like how they looked in this quarter, of the game. Kirby Smart understands that the product on the field has to match the recruiting. It has to match the culture. It has to match, what they're selling. But Kirby Smart is a guy that if you've ever met him before, what you see is what you get. He don't sugarcoat anything. And, guys like Billy Napier and my alma mater understand that, look, it really doesn't matter what you do outside of Jacksonville. You got to handle Jacksonville. And obviously you got to take care of business when you talk about South Carolina, Tennessee. But you got to bridge that gap. I mean, Dan Mullen, like him, love him, he did get over that Georgia hump. Now, it wasn't really much to go off of, between that win, before and after. If you are Billy Napier, hey, are you the guy coming from Louisiana to Florida? You're going from $2 million to $7.1 million. You was able to help in recruiting, something that Dan Mullen did not do well. Now Kevin's going to come to what type of offense is Florida going to run? How do they look doing it? And once again, I am not calling a win or a loss, but when you play the best team, not just the best team on your side of the conference, one of the best teams in the country, how do you look doing it? Because, Kevin, if it's much to do about nothing, we're going to be talking about who's number 2 and number 3 at SEC Media Days for years to come.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to get to here on the show. We'll hear from Gary Stokan, Atlanta Sports Council. He's also over the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Kickoff, which is Georgia and Oregon. Coming up week number 1, Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football. We'll hear from him, Nolan Smith, Roman Harper, and more here on the show. We'll check in with our own Christian Gokel, who's been great, bringing great content back to us here on the show at SEC Media Days. We'll check in with him as well. But, Ben, as you mentioned, Kirby Smart had his day in the big room today and opened up as the defending national champions. Had some great things to say about his program.
We started this thing off last year with the quote, success comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. Well, we embraced that last year, and guess what? That doesn't change. So for our team, it's embedded in what we do. We didn't build this program on hoping for one-year wonders or hoping for one opportunity. We built the program to be sustained, and you sustain it by what you do every single day. And this program was built to be here for a long time, and we have an unbelievable footprint with which we get to recruit. So the 5-hour radius of Athens, Georgia gives us a chance to be around some of the best football student athletes there are in the country. So we'll continue to recruit those, develop those, also going nationally. But the team that we have coming back, I've been around, done the rounds this morning. I'll bet you at least 50 people have asked me the question. So feel free when we open up for questions to ask me the concern there is for complacency. That does not concern me in the least, because to be complacent, you have to have done something and achieved something. The men on this team for this season have not done that. They have not. We had 15 players that are now gone to NFL camps or draft picks. They're gone. And we have some returning players but they're hungry as ever. People have asked the question, how does it feel to be hunted? We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that. The hunting that we do will be done from us going the other direction. It's not something we're going to sit back and be passive about. Our guys have asked questions, and we've done a lot of studies on how the mighty have fallen. So we have skull sessions. We have 15-minute meetings, 20-minute meetings in breakout groups, and we've actually taught how the mighty have fallen. I'm talking about in business. I'm talking about in sports. I'm talking about in history. So you learn from the mistakes of others, and for us, it really steers down to one cultural belief that we have a connection that's greater than our opponent. We're all going to be tough. We're all going to be physical in the SEC, but can we be better connected together? Can we have 1 + 1 = 3? Because for us, 1 + 1 = 3 means we get more together than we do apart. And this team believes that. I'm excited about this team because there's a lot of opportunity. People say, do you have the talent? Do you have enough talent within your program? We've got plenty of talent. What we lack right now is experience. That's our job as coaches, to put those guys in a position to be successful and react in a calm manner and have the experience they need to go play well against Oregon. That game will help set us up for our SEC gauntlet that we have coming up after that.
That's Kirby Smart. Sounds a lot like Nick Saban. If you ask me, Ben, great season at the University of Georgia, and you say we're not going to be complacent because this group hasn't done anything. I hear a lot of coaches say that. There's a famous clip of Mike Leach chewing out his Texas Tech team and say, "Hey, we're living off last year. You didn't make that play. Graham Harrell made that play. You didn't make that play. Some other guy made that play. It's your turn to go make a play, or it ain't going to happen." So I hear a lot of Nick Saban, hear a lot of other coaches coming out there and Kirby Smart talking about we're not hunting it. We're not getting hunted by anybody. We're going after it.
Kevin, when you start thinking about a guy like Kirby Smart, I mean, when you start thinking about the mood of the team, does it seem like Georgia isn't a confident bunch when they step out on the field? It starts with the head coach, and as you can see, he's not coming into 2022 any different than 2021. The only difference is they defended the national championship, defending national champions. Can they stick to their winning ways in 2022?
Yeah, I think that's going to be very, very interesting to see how they come out. We have found David Waters, Georgia there today, Florida there today, and David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joining us from SEC Media Days there in Atlanta. David, welcome. How are you?
Good guys. Sorry, I'm running behind. Just you know how crazy these days can be.
Hey, no, that's all right. We understand it is wide open there at SEC Media Days, and certainly you got Georgia and you got Florida there on the same day. One is the defending national champ, one with a new head coach, and again, speak to what you heard from Billy Napier. I know he was asked directly, "Hey, the last three guys that were hired behind you, or ahead of you, I should say, at the University of Florida, none of those guys made it 4 years. How are you going to be any different?" How do you think he handled that line of questioning, knowing that, look, you're in much like Kirby Smart, you're in a high-profile job, and they expect you to come in and get it done?
Yeah, everybody knows the expectations at Florida, and that's not going to change. No matter who the head coach is. And, I think Billy Napier's earned a lot of leeway so far because we know the changes Florida needed to make there at the university and the changes that he is making. A lot needed to be changed, and like he mentioned, having to go back and make sure Florida had everything they needed to be successful. Would that be, the booster support, NIL right now, administration support. He needs every bit of support to come along. And that doesn't happen fast. That takes time. And he's learning about all this stuff at the same time. Learning the Florida job, learning the landscape of NIL, learning the landscape of the transfer portal at this level of college football. And as he said, it can. It's a high-pressure job. This job can chew you up and spit you out. And I needed to make sure everything was in place to make sure that doesn't happen to me.
David, when you think about a guy like Billy Napier, obviously since he got there at Florida, he's been implementing all these different scenarios when it comes to these players and identity. You hear Kirby Smart talk about those guys, they don't understand everybody's going to be physical. How can we be better, bonded together any other team? Talk about a guy like, like Billy Napier holding court, got that straight poker face, but how would you assess his first SEC Media Days?
Yeah, it's a lot of what we've seen from Billy Napier so far. There's not a lot of lightning and fireworks, but you know what you're going to get there with Billy Napier. But straight to the point. And Ben, you kind of said, like you said, there's a lot of things that are moving and going on at Florida that needed, and also things that needed to change, and culture needed to change, and just you hear that from the players as well. They really express kind of Billy Napier's demeanor. Anthony Richardson kind of said that today as well. Saying not like my coach. I'm not a yeller. I'm not a screamer. I'm not that type of leader, with the rah-rah guy either at the same time, with calm, cool demeanor. I lead by example. We'll lead by play on the field, but it's not going to be, the screamer out there on the field. Billy Napier's not that way as a coach. Anthony Richardson, he's not going to be that way as a player. So, we're learning little by little more about Billy Napier and his relationship to these players the more we get to talk to them. And you can kind of tell that they're kind of taking after their coach a little bit.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joining us. And David, depending on who you talk to, a lot of people have a lot of expectation for Anthony Richardson there at the quarterback spot. The league is full of good quarterbacks right now. Anthony Richardson, I think Billy Napier said, correct me if I'm wrong, has completed 33 passes or only attempted 33 passes in his entire collegiate career. I mean, what's the upside here? What realistically could be in front of this young man, given that from a passing standpoint, 33 pass attempts or 33 completions, that's not a lot to go off of.
No, it's not. And, I think we have to be kind of selective where we go back and look at Anthony Richardson. He had a really good second half versus LSU. Florida's not even in that game if Anthony Richardson doesn't come in. So Florida does not beat FSU if he does not come in and save that Florida offense in that game. And then, of course, we go to the Georgia game, the one game he started, and it was not pretty. It was his first start. Not a lot of reps going into that week. Probably kind of a disservice to go out there and start him versus one of the best defenses we've ever seen in college football. So there is a sample size that is small. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, and it's probably just dependent on what games you want to look at to make your determination of how good Anthony Richardson can be. So I think if you take the potential and you lay that out, and of course you can do that for a lot of players out there, but he's got one of the highest potentials of a player in college football that's out there. If he can live up to that potential, Florida's offense will be just fine. Florida's going to run the ball. They'll have success running the ball under Billy Napier. But for this offense to take off and be lethal, a lethal offense, that's going to be on the shoulders of Anthony Richardson.
Ventrell Miller's a guy that's obviously there at SEC Media Days, coming off an injury, a big time player at the linebacker position, also, a big time leader. Talk about having him back, because so much talk is going to be about the offense. Anthony Richardson running the football with that, with a 2 tight end set. But when you talk about Trey Dean, you talk about Javon Dexter, you talk about Brenton Cox and a guy like Ventrell Miller that's running the show. The defense got a shot to be really, really good this year.
Yeah, Ben, they're going to be led by him, and it's funny. This is his 6th year of college football. This is his 3rd head coach at Florida. He came in as a Jim McElwain recruit in 2017. Then Dan Mullen gets hired, and now you have Billy Napier, and he goes, "Look, I've had to learn to adapt. I had to learn to change." And so he goes, that's one of his strengths, and the one thing he's been able to do as a player. He's going to be asked to be a leader one more time. He only got to play in the first couple games last year before missing the rest of the year, and you could tell Florida missed his leadership on that side of the football. So they'll have him back. He'll be attacking there with Brenton Cox as an outside linebacker. He has high things to say about that. He has high things to say about Javon Dexter out there in front of him as a defensive tackle that'll make his job easier. So you look at Ventrell Miller, he's just ready. He's ready to be out there and lead this group. He was limited in the spring because he was trying to finish up some classes, but he's just ready to be out there and prove that he can be a leader and kind of prove that he was the player everybody kind of thought he was before he got injured last year.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joining us here on 3 and Out. And David, you look at Florida. Obviously, we won't know the results till tomorrow when it's all said and done. But how do you think most people see the East stacking up behind Georgia? And is Florida going to be in that top 3? Or are there just too many questions right now for folks to feel confident in maybe slotting them up there?
Yeah, I think if you look at it, it's definitely going to be Georgia. No question there. And I think if you kind of start asking around, there's a lot of trending love for Kentucky, a lot of trending love for Tennessee. So I do think how do those both split up? I think Florida will probably be firmly in that 4th spot behind those 2 teams. If you start kind of asking around and talking to other people around here, not too high as far as comparison to Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky. But you start looking at it, and guys, we've discussed it before, when all these team talent composites start coming out, it's coming up soon. Florida's still going to have the 2nd most talent in the East, and now it's just going to be about how fast Billy Napier put all that together. But look at it, most people are going to put them behind Tennessee and Kentucky.
And even with the talent that's already there, as you mentioned, Dave, I mean, Billy Napier doesn't get enough credit for what he did in this current recruiting cycle with the guys. I mean, finally getting IMG talent, but it's about developing that talent, as you mentioned. Yeah, no surprise, Georgia is going to be miles and miles ahead of everybody else, not just in the East, but in the SEC with what they was able to bring back. But if Florida can find a way to get solid quarterback play, find a way to get past a Utah team that's going. A lot of teams got picked to be a college football playoff dark horse. If they can run those first 4 games, they can come out of it 3-1, maybe 4-0. If some great things happen, how much more confidence is that going to give those guys with a schedule that is very, very tough?
Yeah, we asked those guys about that today, and Billy Napier did how important is that Utah game, and they didn't want to put too much on it, but it's like, these guys get ready pretty fast. They're going to play a team like that, and it can be a game that really sets up some momentum for Florida. Utah's going to be this top 10 team coming in, defending Pac-12 champions, and for Billy Napier's first game, he can make a statement by going out there and getting the game and winning a game like that, and set the wheels in motion to have some confidence on already what's going on when Kentucky comes to the Swamp week 2. So I think that this first two games are going to be pretty instrumental, and maybe somehow in how some confidence can go early on in the season for Florida. Because that early season schedule is tough, and Florida, I think, from talking to the players today, they know the task at hand and know they got to hit the ground running.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joining us from Atlanta, SEC Media Days. David, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
David Waters joining us here on 3 and Out. Billy Napier there. We'll hear more from him. We'll hear more from Kirby Smart as we go throughout the show as well. It is 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Love to hear from you on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, or you can watch us on the show, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Go to YouTube, ESPN Coastal on YouTube, and you can follow along with us every day here on 3 and Out.
Hello, this is Artist Gilmore, Basketball Hall of Fame. You're listening to 3 and Out with DJ, Ben, and Kevin.
Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Thanks for making us a part of your day, live on ESPNCoastal.com and on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. SEC Media Days. We talked there about Billy Napier. We heard from Kirby Smart a little bit there in the opening segment. And obviously, he's going to get a lot of questions, Ben, about his football team, about where they're at coming off the national championship. And, of course, a lot of people talking about Stetson Bennett, and people asking him in this next clip, we have talking about Stetson and, of course, the quarterback room there at Georgia as well.
You know, I don't know that it was any personal vindication. It's what you do as a coach. I go off how we practice, you know, what guys show us in practice. I'd seen Stetson Bennett make those plays repeatedly in practice. And, you know, the conversation with Coach Monken was to be aggressive and go play to win the game. You know, you're not going to hide behind your quarterback and win a national championship. You got to go let him play. And I thought Coach Monken and the offensive staff did an unbelievable job bouncing back, and, you know, really unfortunate in a lot of those opportunities early in the game. It wasn't a matter of Stetson playing poorly. It was self-inflicted wounds. And it wasn't a matter, I mean, we started inside the 5. We had the penalty. We averaged second down was over 10 yards. I mean, you're not going to win games doing that. And a lot of it was what we did. So when we control what we do and we do the right way, Stetson can be a major factor. And look, Stetson's one of the least respected good players there is in this country. And guess what? We get to see it every day. The kid's a tremendous athlete. He's got a good arm strength. People just keep doubting him, and that's fine with me. Yeah, I don't think if you're a good coach, you don't go into the season without thinking you got 2 or 3 guys that can come in and play, especially in our conference. You're going to get hit, you're going to get tackled, you're going to get knocked back, and he's going to probably have to run the ball some. So that puts him at risk of injury. And our quarterback room right now, I'm extremely confident in. You know, Carson Beck's been in the program, done a lot of good things. He was a guy that we won a state championship in high school, did a tremendous job. Brock Vandegrift is a tremendous athlete who has got a tremendous upside. He's gotten better and better. Those 2 guys are growing rapidly because of the number of reps they're getting. And then Gunnar Stockton spent the spring with us, who's a good athlete we're excited about. So I feel really confident about our quarterback room, confident because I have Stetson returning, but confident because we have competent, well-coached backups as well.
Ben, there you go. I think Kirby said all you need to hear about him and his relationship with Stetson Bennett and what he believes the kid can do.
I think what he said at the end, though, was you know, kind of half true when he said, I'm not confident because Stetson Bennett is back. No, you're immensely confident, because the thing about it is, Kevin, I mean, I do agree what he said. I mean, Stetson Bennett is one of the most least respected, good players in the country. The reason, but why would Kirby Smart say good and not great? Because it's almost like when it comes to Stetson Bennett, like you expected him to walk in 6'4" when he's not a big dude. But when you look at his stats, when you look at the fact that Coach Monken was told we're going to be aggressive, we're not going to hide behind him. And a lot of people, Kevin, if you look at the national championship, the type of first half that Stetson Bennett had, a lot of people going to tank. I mean, the last time Alabama won a national championship with a guy that had coming in, had won 26 games, they benched him for Tua in the second half. So I do think that Stockton, and company, are really, really good. But I can say this. I don't know of a player that has meant more to a school, to a college, a university, or a team than a guy like Stetson Bennett. I am taking nothing away from Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean and company last year. But they had to win that thing through the air. And I think with a guy like Stetson Bennett, Kevin, it gives you a lot of confidence because he has command of the offense. He understands, what his role is. He understands when to get down. He understands when to throw the ball away. He's going to keep you ahead of the chains in good situations. And he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. So the thing about a guy like Stetson Bennett, we need to get caught. We need to get past how he looks, and look at what he does when given the opportunity, because JT Daniels no longer there. And he was supposed to be picked the guy. I told you. We get so caught up in these 5 stars next to these players' names and expect that to lead to immediate success. Stetson Bennett is there holding court right now if Georgia's still there. But yeah, Kevin, I mean, I do believe in what Kirby Smart says. Oh man, it's all about development. It's all about making sure those guys understand what it is. And like you said, he's seen it in practice. Surprise, surprise, Stetson Bennett is coming back. People's like, he should have just went. No, I want to feel that again. I mean, I had to run the gauntlet to be in this position. We finally win and I'm going to leave. No. I'm going to come back and see if I can give a nice encore performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, I think it's utter confidence there from Kirby Smart in his quarterback. And why wouldn't you be? The dude played well enough and played with enough poise to bring you a national championship as well. Also wanted this a great thing he said. Obviously, people talk about his team's identity and what they're going to be. Every team has a different identity. Here's Kirby talking about what he thinks his team's identity is.
Do you have any indication of what this team's identity might be heading into this upcoming season?
Yeah, hungry. I talked about it earlier. I mean, there's a hunger among this group that a lot of guys want to prove that they can replace the other guy. And they don't want to be the other guy. They want to be the next guy. And you look across the board, we had some really high-profile players, really on defense and offense, when you count the backs and the receivers, that we have to replace those guys. And the hunger comes from the opportunity the talented players behind them have. And I'm excited. That's why complacency is something that happens to people that don't look what's going on. We don't have that problem. There's not a day that we don't wake up and think, what can we do better to make our program better? And our players are doing that right now.
There's Kirby Smart talking about his team. I mean, obviously, when people talk about that team identity, Ben, they ask that of everybody. At some point, they even ask it of Nick Saban. Does your team ever get tired of competing for national championships? Right? He's like, hey, it's just, we can kind of halfway sleepwalk our way to do it and get it done. Right? Because that happens to a lot of people. Hey, I've been here 4 years. We played for the national championship 3 times, won 2. Now I'm coming back for year 4. I mean, you kind of think you know what it takes. So I think that's a fair question. But Kirby's saying, look, we're not going to be complacent because the guys that left, that means somebody's getting their opportunity. Sounds right out of Nick Saban. Hey, yeah, we lost a lot of guys to the NFL, but that guy's been sitting there waiting for his turn to come out and play.
Kirby Smart, you see what it takes to be a big time coach at a big time university. I mean, when you look at it's like Kirby Smart already, the things that he's being asked, the things he runs through his head every single day. I always had a coach say, when it comes to a team identity, 1 word is enough, 3 words are too many. It should be something simple and plain, hungry. And it's what you hear when you hear that, because he's saying, look, man, I've been to the top of the mountain, man. I want that again. Like what they had to buy into what Kirby Smart was selling when he first got there, because you were replacing the guy, Mark Ridley. Let's face it, was an incredible coach. When you talk about, but people saying, can you take it to the next step? Can you take it to that next level? A lot of people, Kevin, go to the national championship. They never go back against a team like Alabama. But learning under Nick Saban, he understands, man, the grind is day in, day out. The process is day in, day out. And if you've ever been in front of Kirby Smart before, I mean, look, when he had to take that visor off, he is dead serious about what he is doing, because he understands that now that he's won it, the scrutiny goes up even more. Okay, can you do it again? He said, how do you call a national champion a one-hit wonder? Well, most teams won't even sniff it, but he's Georgia. So when he said they hungry, that's what he puts in his play. I said, look, fellas, I'm going to take the blunt of all the criticism. I'm going to take the blunt of all the pressure, but y'all going to apply it. I'm going to take what I'm giving. I'm going to give it to y'all. Y'all going to apply it. They don't feel it. But Kirby Smart, I mean, he's built for the job. A guy that played at Georgia who understands what it is. And like I said, if you think Georgia was good in 2021, not going to be the same team in 2022, but it's going to be hard to see the difference, because you're going to have a lot of talent. Not a lot of talent coming back on defense, a lot of talent coming back on offense, but you got the same guy to him. Teams that are good have one thing in common. They got the head coach that's been there for a long time. Show me different.
And he was very, very clear a couple of times, but he said, look, we don't have a talent problem. We have an experience problem.
Yeah.
So, and you know this, talent that hadn't played, you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Kirby's telling people right now is like, look, we don't have a talent problem. You can't say you have a talent problem. Let me say that. You can't say you have a talent problem when you're in the top 3 every year, right? Because if you have a talent problem, what does everybody else have?
Yeah.
I mean, so you don't have a talent problem. You have an experience problem. And now guys are going to get a chance to come out there and play for the first time in quite some time. We got a lot going on the show. We're going to check in with our own Christian Gokel there at SEC Media Days. A number of folks stopping by from there to talk about what's coming up here in the college football season. We'll get to that next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to be here. 3 and Out. Kevin and Ben, SEC Media Days, Georgia, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, all making the rotation there at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta today as they have been. Everybody gets their chance to stand at the podium and tell us what they're all about. I think Kentucky's an interesting one. Heard David Waters quickly say he thinks people are going to put Kentucky maybe second or third in their poll, which we'll find out tomorrow what the media do, but maybe second or third behind Georgia there in the East.
When you look at what they bring it back, Kevin, I mean, they added a passing game to go with a running attack. You already know that Kentucky has like more of an old school type way of playing football. They're going to play hard for 4 quarters. They're going to have probably one of the best, if not the best, offensive line returning. I mean, Rodriguez running the rock. I mean, I think that what's happened with this Kentucky team, Kevin, is lo and behold, they've gotten really, really good, but they've gotten really, really consistent over the years. And it's always, that's just Kentucky. No. We know that they coach. We know that John Calipari and his team gonna dominate the headlines. But Mark Stoops, the brother of Bob Stoops, got something to say about it. Yep. Lo and behold, the Kentucky team is very, very competitive.
We'll hear more from Mark Stoops as they take the rounds this afternoon. On Christian Gokel's at SEC Media Days. Georgia and Oregon going to help start the season there in Atlanta. Christian standing by with the CEO and president of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Gary Stokan.
Welcome back into ESPN Coastal's continuing coverage of SEC Media Days 2022, live from the Chick-fil-A College Football Hall of Fame here in the heart of downtown Atlanta, and a place that I know a lot of y'all are going to be paying a ton of attention to coming up in September because the Dogs kicking off against Oregon in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And to look at that game and how it came together, the CEO of Peach Bowl Incorporated, Gary Stokan, kind enough to take some time with us. Gary, it's SEC Media Days means we're close to football, man, and I know it's so much work that goes into this game, but how excited are you for just September 3rd, walking out on the field, seeing Georgia and Oregon going head-to-head?
Well, we're very excited. We just announced today that the game is sold out.
There you go.
So we've got another sellout. We announced a week ago that the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl CFP semifinals is a sold-out game, and we hope to announce Chick-fil-A kickoff game Georgia Tech Clemson at the end of the week's sold-out game. We're calling this our record season. We came out of last year out of COVID, our comeback season. This is our record season with 3 games, and you got 5 of the 6 teams that are ranked in the top 10. So it's going to be a phenomenal year this year. And kicking off with Georgia, Oregon, with Dan Lanning coming back to play against his friend Kirby Smart and his old team, Georgia, and then Bo Nix coming from Auburn out to Oregon, playing against Georgia again. There's so many storylines, 2 top 10 teams, number 10 against number 3, big implications for the CFP. So, in a sold-out Mercedes-Benz atmosphere to kick off the season, I can't think of a better way to start.
Absolutely. And I want to start with Georgia here, just the partnership you guys have had throughout the years, because going back, Kirby Smart's first game was in the Georgia Dome back when this game was hosted there against North Carolina, put on the Heisman Trophy, had afterwards, all that Nick Chubb in that game. But also just coming in and competing in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl as well against Cincinnati during that COVID year, right? Which is a spectacular game to kick off the new year. So what's that partnership been like with the University of Georgia?
Well, there's 2 partnerships. One is with Kirby individually. Kirby's the only player who has played in our Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, coached in our Chick-fil-A kickoff game, and coached in our Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
How about that?
He's the only guy ever.
Wow.
Number one. Number 2, when Kirby was at Alabama, we'd meet all the time. And when he got the job at Georgia, he said, Gary, I will play in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game as many times as you'll have us.
Yeah.
So 16, as you mentioned, was his first game ever as head coach at Georgia. 20, they were going to play Virginia. We got knocked out with COVID. 22, they're playing against Oregon. And then 24, we got them matched up against Clemson.
Yeah.
In 24. So Kirby knows how valuable this game is because helps with CFP selection committee, helps with recruiting, really helps the players get ready for the season because they know they're playing against a ranked opponent.
Right.
Versus a nondescript opening game where they may not work out as hard and get ready for. And the other thing is coaches will tell you they improve week 1 to week 2 more when they have a game like this because now you're competing against someone that's going to be pretty good on the other side, and you can coach the kids up in week 2 because you got good film on them. So for all those reasons, Kirby likes playing in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. For all those same reasons, Georgia, with the payout they get, with the exposure they get, with the opportunity to play in Mercedes-Benz Stadium,
Sure.
which hopefully they can get back and play in an SEC championship at the end of
Absolutely.
the year. And now playing a Chick-fil-A kickoff game semifinal, they want to play here 3 times.
I don't think Georgia fans would mind that one bit. But talk about not just Georgia, but Oregon as well. I know one of the biggest things when coaches go out recruiting and talking to players is they'll bring up the schedule that they could potentially play if they came to the school. And when you put something like this on there, you guys provide an experience not just for the fans, but for the players as well. So it's not
Great
just another
point.
home game for them. You get 4 years to play in the NCAA, right? You want to make every single game count, and football plays fewer games than any other sport. So with this experience, can you tell us a little bit about what the players are in store for?
Well, in most cases, kids only play 3 years if they go pro.
If they're good enough,
after their junior
absolutely.
year,
Or if
right?
you're Stetson,
So-
you play 6.
Yeah, that's weird with COVID and everything. You're
Yep.
right. But we write into every contract that the players can come through the College Football Hall of Fame, because we tell them we want you to dream, envision yourself being inducted into this College Football Hall of Fame in 10, 15 years after you're done playing. So we even have events in here. We have a tour, and then we have a dinner in here. So we love the College Football Hall of Fame. We were part of bringing it here, building it, sustaining it. It's awfully important to college football. It's part of Atlanta being college football capital. There's only one College Football Hall of Fame. It's here in Atlanta, along with the kickoff game, the SEC championship, and the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. With those 4 games are part of 6. Those 4 games are 4 of the top 6 conventions in the 4th largest convention town in the United States, Atlanta, Georgia. That's how important college football is to
Yeah.
Atlanta. We'll alone with these 3 games, we'll do over $100 million of economic impact,
Yeah.
which is about $6 million in sales tax back to the city. So our hospitality industry really needs it right now, and so we're glad to provide it for them.
The most fascinating thing that I've heard so far, and you talked about this at the beginning, is the fact that y'all have already sold out, not just this game, that just happened, but a couple of weeks ago, y'all already sold out the semifinal matchup, which we don't know who's going to be there. But if I had to guess, there's a team in crimson and there's a team in red. There's a lot of fans that are just assuming and hoping that their team gets there that have bought these tickets up. But the narrative that I keep hearing is bowl games are dying. Nobody cares about bowl games. Bowl games should be done away with. If anything's proving that's wrong, it's y'all's bowl game.
Well, we've come a long way since 1968, where I remember in 1998, my first bowl game as CEO, Georgia and Virginia, we had selected them, and the AJC came out with Georgia's headed to a 3rd-tier bowl game. So we've come a long way now, being part of the New Year's Six and hosting the national semifinals this year, and we'll do so again in 2025.
It's just awesome to see. I think bowl games such an intrinsic part. So even when you're not a part of the playoff and you're part of that New Year's Six, it's the celebration of an entire season, right? How do you, I don't want to say view the responsibilities of a bowl game, but like the impact, I guess, of a bowl game on the world of college football? Because like I said, for whatever reason, it seems like there's a big contingent that's saying, hey, bowl games don't matter. But I've always seen it as just a cap to what is an awesome season.
Well, you talk to the players, and there's not one player that would tell you they had a bad bowl experience. And, being at their ages, it's good to provide them. In some ways, kids, maybe never been to Atlanta, maybe never, been to the Hall of Fame. So they're getting experiences that they would never had if they didn't play in a bowl game. Number 2, they get great gifts. Number 3, they get a celebration. Number 4, they get 15 extra practices. So and then the exposure on national TV and a great bowl atmosphere. So there's so much that goes into it that's positive that, I can't see Bowls games going away.
Again, we're catching up with Gary Stokan, CEO of Peach Bowl Incorporated. Before we let you get out of here, Oregon, the other team in this matchup here, you mentioned Dan Lanning coming back first game, right, against his old team that he just won the national championship with. But how impactful in your conversations with them is this for Oregon? Because Atlanta's a huge recruiting hotbed, but also the exposure that the program is going to get. I mean, you are flying. It's harder to find a further away spot for Oregon to come play a football game, but they seem just absolutely amped about it.
It's interesting. When I met with Rob Mullins, who came out of the SEC, he was at Kentucky to become AD at Oregon. I said, Rob, what kind of interest do you think you'll have? He says, well, we'll take 6,000 tickets. Well, they sold those 6,000 tickets out in a week.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot more Oregon people in here than 6,000 people. And for them, they're ranked top 10. If they can win this game, it'll elevate them not only within the Pac-12 race, but in the CFP selection committee race.
Absolutely.
And even if they lost and Georgia won out, there is such a thing in the nomenclature of CFP now of a good loss. This would be a good loss. And if Oregon won the Pac-12 and their one loss or two losses were to Georgia and someone else and Georgia's undefeated, that's going to elevate them in the CFP selection committee. So this game's awfully important for Georgia and Oregon for a lot of reasons.
Gary Stokan, CEO of Peach Bowl Inc., kind enough to take some time with us here. I know September 3rd can't get here fast enough. 45 days until we're teeing it up. Gary, I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here at SEC Media, for being here in Atlanta, and thanks for having us.
There you go. Gary Stokan, Ben, CEO, president of the Peach Bowl. And that's always been the last handful of years, one of the events that kind of helps get the season started, right? You get moving, and then they've kind of made it a two-time thing where you have your big Saturday night game, and then, of course, you spill around into Monday night Labor Day with a big game in Atlanta. Going to be Georgia Tech and Clemson, a conference game there on Monday night, but Georgia and Oregon on that Saturday night, going to be a heck of a ball game as well.
I mean, it just kind of goes to show you all the different things that go on behind the scenes, Kevin. You hear a guy in Kirby Smart that say, hey, man, listen, when he's had Alabama, kind of manifesting, if I ever become the head coach of Georgia, I see what this game, what this game means, what this venue means, what this city means. And here it is. And when listen, I mean, how much easier is Gary's job when the head coach of Georgia said, if you need us, first game, coach, I appreciate you. And we are going to need you because, number one, that saves, I mean, you're talking about Georgia, that's a I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not flying from Athens to Atlanta, but that
I mean, I guess you could.
You could just to flex a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna be cruising at 10,000 feet.
I mean, we take helicopters on recruiting trips.
Exactly, but it just goes to show when you start talking about the venues from the college football playoff to the SEC championship game. I mean, to the Peach Bowl, to the Chick-fil-A kickoff. It just shows that the city of Atlanta. I mean, look, it is the creme de la creme when you talk about the headquarters for college football and then perfect conditions. You're in a dome. You don't got to worry about it. But, hey, man, we'll see what happens.
We'll come back. We got more to come. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. Here it is. 3 and Out on this Wednesday. SEC Media Days going on there in the ATL, Ben. And Kirby Smart there at the podium. We'll hear some more comments from him. Billy Napier, we'll hear some more comments from him. We'll hear from Tony Barnhart later in the show. Nolan Smith was there representing Georgia. Christian Gokel had a chance to catch up with him. We'll check in with Christian. Obviously, a big day there for Georgia. And we'll catch up with Christian there in hour number 2.
It's going to be a lot of listen. It's the Dogs' day at SEC Media Days. They're gonna run every single thing there. Everybody else is just trying to ride their coattails right now. No, man, it's a great day at SEC Media Days. Kirby Smart holding court, Kevin, letting everybody know we are not going to be the hunted. We coming out there. We gonna hunt y'all. They are hunting and they are hungry.
We are hunting and hungry, and we're coming for red meat. It's happening. Hour 2 coming up next. 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Thanks for making us a part of your day. We'll check in with our own Christian Gokel coming up in just a little bit on the program from SEC Media Days and more. So a lot of teams taking their turns at the podium over the last couple of days, and still one more day to go. Ben Troop there from Atlanta. Let's take 3, shall we? You're on 3 and Out. All right, Ben, take 1. All-Star game last night. National League still can't win one. They've lost 9 in a row, but a lot of reviews about the game, how the broadcast went, miking up of pitchers and catchers and guys who were playing the field. I think they even had a conversation with the Yankees catcher while he was batting at the plate. Is that something you want to see more of, or is that something that is just not possible in a lot of sports?
I do want to see more of it. I think sometimes, Kevin, you got to pick your spots. I mean, obviously, the more serious the game, the more harder it is to be able to have more fan engagement. But let's face it, the fans, they want it. We see the conversation. We see the guys putting their glove up, trying to. You want to hear some of those conversations. And if it's almost like one of those things to where the players kind of know, okay, I'm gonna have to do this. Every time you see a practice, whether it be college, pro, what may have you, and they mic a guy up, he's a lot more animated than he probably is when he's not mic'd up. The Falcons used to do it all the time. They'll come in and say, hey, man, I'm the people today. I'm the fans today. So watch what you say. but those things are really, really good. I think for an all-star game, why not? I mean, the all-star game for baseball is one of those things to where you got the pitchers are going to pitch. You can't really dumb down the game, but I think it's always great. Fan engagement is what drives any sport. And the more the fans are engaged with, the more they're going to watch. I'm not saying that baseball isn't doing an incredible job, of pushing the game and promoting the game. But yeah, the more fan engagement. I mean, when you got a hitter out there, talking while he's at the plate, because the greatest conversation you're going to have is that of a hitter and a catcher. Like they're talking to each other, and obviously the first baseman got to talk to guys most of the time. But I think it's great. And like you mentioned, if you're in the NL, you're not going to win. It's like not in the contract to win the freaking All-Star game anymore. Carlos Stanton's out there just murdering baseballs. But the game is not watered down. The game is actually still really played really, really well. Why not kind of show some of these guys' personality? Because you got some very, very interesting guys in MLB.
Yeah, I think it's good for a game that people say has no personality, but people complain that it's a game that's just slow and it's boring. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on while you're waiting for action to happen. And Ozzie was mic'd up on Sunday Night Baseball. He's talking about everything he's doing in between each and every pitch. And you actually got a conversation last night with Manoah of the Blue Jays. And he was having a conversation with the guys in the booth about how he was pitching a guy at the plate. Say, look, all right, we obviously tried to go up and in. That didn't work. Here's what we're trying to do. Maybe we'll do this. And it's fun. It's the All-Star game. It's supposed to be, I think, to me, that's a good combination of what a All-Star game could be. You still have to play, right? But it's also not so serious that guys aren't up there going, look, I'm about to throw him a slider. Let's see what we can do with it. Stuff that, as you said, if it was Game 7 of the World Series, they'd be saying, get this crap out of my ear. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
All right, I got to focus here. But it's an All-Star game. It says All-Star game is supposed to be celebrations of the game. And I think that is why people get mad at the NFL. You're not celebrating the game by half trying and playing two-hand touch. Hey, he touched me. I'm good. That's not a celebration of the game. At NBA, I think you get a celebration of the game the later it gets in the game. But the first half, it's basically just, hey, let's dunk and shoot threes and see who can make some crazy shots. Then you kind of get a celebration of the game the later it gets as guys start to take it serious. Baseball, I think, does a good job. I'll give them credit for that. Good job of presenting their product at the All-Star game. You have the best players in the game. They get their chance to shine. They get a chance to, via broadcast, to explain what the heck they're doing and why they're good at it and why a lot of people can't do it, right? I know some of you are like, man, that catcher cam makes me kind of nervous. Well, yeah, what do you think they're doing? Standing in there and the guy's throwing 100 miles an hour right there. That's what they're seeing. So, I like that kind of stuff when it comes to baseball because I get agitated at the baseball slow and boring. And I think when you get into the game of baseball, there's a lot that goes on in between each and every pitch that most people are like, oh, I thought that was when I usually eat my hot dog and, drink my beer when we're out here. No, there's a lot that goes on that can make the game fun at the same time. So I give baseball a lot of credit for doing that. And it was a fun game. Like I said, fun game. Came down 1 run. I think I wasn't really necessary because I was tired. I was like, all right, Don't end in a tie. I know the announcer's like, I want it to go to a swing off. I get that, but just be done. I was tired. Kevin was ready to go to sleep.
Yep.
And you make your broadcast decisions based on what I want. That's that's how I think it should be
Ain't nothing wrong with it. We don't have a lot of leverage in this life. The little that I have, I got to tap into it when necessary.
That's right. All right. Moving along. Take 2. All right. I'll give you the opposite question tomorrow, but we're going to have the media's projected order of finish. Take 2. Give me your projected order of finish for the SEC East.
Oh man, obviously I got those Georgia boys winning it again. Surprise. I think Kentucky is going to be better than people give them credit for. I know that Josh Heupel and the company got something to say about that. I got them coming in at number 2. I think Florida's going to.
You got Kentucky too? Okay.
Yeah, I think Kentucky's going to be 2 because I'm looking at. I do think it's going to be a battle for 3 and 4 for Tennessee and Florida. I'm going to go slightly Florida. I think until Tennessee can show me they can beat Florida on a consistent level, I'll go Florida 3, Tennessee 4.
What shoes you wearing today?
Hey man, at the end of the, and I know people say, well, Ben, what about South Carolina? I think South Carolina, they got a shot to be really, really good, but I got to see it. I mean, I am buying what Coach Beamer is selling up there in Columbia. But Kevin, Spencer Rattler, like I said, I mean, people keep saying if he can go back to his quote freshman year, well, I mean, that's what scares me because people saying he looked real good in a spring game. Well, I hope he does look good in the spring game, but I got them coming in at number 5, and obviously, I do think Mizzou is going to have something to say, over those Vanderbilt boys. I got those guys coming in at number 6, and obviously rounding out the SEC East will be them boys from Nashville, Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I think 1 and 6 1 and 7 are the easiest. Georgia 1, Vanderbilt 7. I mean, Clark Lee, I appreciate you, my guy. We're going to be the best program in the country. I mean, you got a long ways to go. Let's just win an SEC. And that's no disrespect, but it's just
even with picking Kentucky for number 2, I mean, they got one of the best runners returning in the SEC. They're going to play scrappy football. And like I say, Kevin, it's almost like I got to stop looking at Kentucky as Kentucky. No, they play really, really good football.
Sure.
And mind you, look, Kentucky will have to do some astronomical things to win the East and obviously go to Atlanta. But, I mean, you look at what Coach Mark Stoops is doing, he's building a bully. And at the end of the day, I'm always scratching the clawing, for respect to Kentucky because we're, quote, a basketball school. So, but I give Kentucky a lot of credit. Proven passer, proven runner, going to have a solid offensive line, going to have a scrappy defense. I'm going to go with the Kentucky boys.
All right. I got obviously Georgia number 1. I think you're kind of talking me into Kentucky too because I want to say Tennessee, but the fact that Tennessee, they got to play Bama and can't beat them. They got to play Florida and really haven't beaten Florida, but once in 15 years.
Yeah.
They got to play Georgia. Haven't really had a lot of success against Georgia. I mean, that's 3 losses right there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Kentucky 2. I'm going to put Tennessee 3, Florida 4.
Yeah.
I think even if Florida beats them, Florida's got to continue with Georgia. They got the A&M. They got
LSU, Georgia.
I mean, that could be 3 losses right there.
Yeah.
And then if Tennessee gets you, you're probably right there. I think they're better than Mizzou. I will put in South Carolina. I'll put South Carolina 5. I'll put Mizzou 6, and obviously I had Vanderbilt 7. I think South Carolina. When you say 5, and some people go, "Come on, man, you don't believe it." I mean, you could be 5th in the SEC East and still go to a bowl game. I mean, I'm not. So I'm looking at South Carolina. They won 7 games last year. And this is what I don't know about South Carolina. And I hate to, that's why I'm going to keep them where I got them and not project because, Ben, you and I were watching the coverage yesterday. South Carolina won 7 games. 7. And offensively, they were not better than like 91st in any offensive category.
Yeah.
They were like 112, 110, or 104 in scoring offense. So anytime your rank is in whatever and is 100 and something, that's not good. So you were over 100 in scoring offense. I think you were like 97 in passing the ball and running the ball. I think you were, you were just not good. I mean, you had Kevin Harris. He's a good running back, but just total offense, scoring offense, those things, you were very bad. And you still won 7 games. Defensively, you're very good. Now, you got a better quarterback. But is your defense going to stay on that level? Where you at there? I'm going to say South Carolina going to stay in that that 5 range. They are better than Mizzou, I think. That's why I put them 6. So that's how I look at the SEC East. All right, Ben, take 3 quickly. Today is National Fortune Cookie Day. Have you ever gotten a good fortune cookie? Like, I know I was like, hey, keep your head up. Money's coming.
Yeah.
That don't ever happen. But I mean, do you like the fortune cookies, or like, just give me the cookie? I don't need the paper in there. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I haven't got some good fortunes, but I think what happens is too, Kevin. I mean, you know, I could be saying I got it, and then somebody across the room, I say I got
Got the same one.
I got the same one. But I will say this about a fortune cookie. You know, getting older, there are certain things I can never grow out of. Most things I have. I'm still gonna read it. Like, it's almost like I could just crumble it up, eat it. I'm like, hey, let me see what this is. Oh, and it's almost
Because
like,
you want to see if you got a good one.
yeah, and it's like, if you know, 2 things. You're gonna look at it to see if you got a good fortune. You're gonna look in the back and see what the winning numbers are.
That's right.
In winning numbers or what may have you. But I will say fortune cookies will never ever get old. I mean, it's like if somebody throw you a fortune cookie and somebody just ate it and didn't realize, dude, you're not gonna read it? Dude, that could have been you know, so
But the winning lottery numbers on there.
exactly. I do read them. I probably had some good ones over the years. Definitely had my fair share of fortune cookies over the years, but I'm not saying I haven't had a good one, Kevin, but like I said, man, they come a dime a dozen. Now something said, listen, man, I need you to call this number at this time to get a
That's right.
I'm looking for
It's
that
never like you're getting a new car.
one. You
I know, guys, always prosperous things are happening in your
If
future.
it said you're
All
getting
right,
a new
man.
car, you tell it to the people who you just, you know, got the fortune cookie from. They said, no. We source out for our fortune cookies. Like, you're gonna have to talk to the manufacturer.
When and where's this car coming from?
Exactly.
I'd like to see it. That's take 3. We do it every day. This time we're coming back. We'll talk, check in with our own Christian Gokel there from the College Football Hall of Fame there in Atlanta at SEC Media Days. He'll join us next. Here's on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here on 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, thanks for making us a part of your day. We should be joined momentarily by our own Christian Gokel there from the College Football Hall of Fame, Ben, and the site of SEC Media Days, Kirby Smart there, Sam Pittman. You've had Florida and Kentucky making their rounds today as well. One more day to go. Jimbo Fisher tomorrow will be a lot of it. So obviously it's ground zero for college football, right? The SEC, so much news made in the offseason, so much back and forth amongst the coaches. NIL, I mean, it's been kind of funny that with all the talk about about NIL and every coach saying, don't really know what the solution is. Every coach saying, look, we got to have some kind of regulation on it. Both Nick Saban and Kirby Smart were very quick to point out just how many NIL deals they had on their team. Kirby Smart said, hey, we had 95 NIL deals coming on. So it's like, hey, we got a problem here. But, oh, by the way, while it is unregulated, we know it's going we had 95 NIL deals. And Nick said, hey, we had guys making over $3 million NIL deals. Well, we need to figure out what we're doing. Oh, by the way, wait, not $3 million. Damn, we enhanced it. That's right. Like, I did find that kind of very funny where it was like, yeah, we don't really know the rules, but as long as there's no rules, wink, wink, nod, nod. By the way, we had X number of NIL deals, and it's all good. Come to Georgia. Come to Bama. It's all good. Christian's looking at me. You came in at the wrong time of that conversation, but I was basically saying, Christian, it's funny that all the coaches at SEC Media Days have basically said, look, NIL needs some kind of regulation, some kind of guidelines. Yet in the same breath, all the coaches have kind of said, oh, yeah, we had guys making plenty of NIL money. It's come here and we got that set up. You're in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want the other coaches to have an advantage over you, right? So you got to say there's some sort of regulation. And when you put the lanes in there, you're like, then you can do percentages and say, well, I mean, if there's regulations, you come to Alabama, there's a better chance of you making that cheese. So there's never been equity in college football. There's not going to be equity in college football. Guide rails, I guess, but let those kids go make some cheddar. It is what it is.
And I know you've been waiting on this day, Christian. Georgia Day, defending national champions, Kirby Smart. A lot of folks listening to what he had to say about his football team. Did anything he said maybe stand out to you or surprise you that he kind of brought to the table?
A couple. I wouldn't say surprised. I mean, it's pretty much party line with a lot of this stuff. But I thought they're not gonna be the hunted. And the SEC was an interesting quote. He said they're the ones who are going to do the hunting. And you're the defending national champion, but I don't think what he said is wrong, right? Sure, you won the national championship last year. No one can take that away from you. You are now a championship program. This is SEC Media Days. Alabama's still the SEC champ. Alabama's the one that everyone's talking about. It's going to walk through 13-0, get ready for the college football playoff, right? Georgia still feels like their quarterback is being undersold in the media, right? I think PFF ranked him outside the top 40 in the country in Stetson Bennett right there, right? Your defense, you lost too many guys to win another national championship again, right? You can't beat Alabama. You can't compete. Heck, you'll be lucky to get out of the East with Tennessee and Kentucky. So when he says that they are they're going to be the hunters, I don't think that's just lip service. I think he absolutely believes that. And Ben, I know the narratives that your coaches paint for you a lot of times can become the narratives that go throughout the season. Georgia feels like they're the national champions and they should be getting a lot more respect than they are. It's very much feeling like, oh, it's cool that you went last year. You ain't doing it again.
Christian, when you think about a guy like Stetson Bennett, I mean, obviously the national narrative, there's nothing he can do about it. There's nothing he can do about perceptions outside of Athens. But you saw he's at SEC Media Days. He's holding court. Stetson Bennett is the only guy in the room that's not a 5-star. It's 5 stars all over the place. There aren't too many people in college football that's going to win a national championship, and he's done it. Can he improve on his stock at all in 2022? And I'm talking about the perception narrative.
I absolutely think so, because what's going to happen early, Ben, is this offense is probably going to have to carry this defense just a little bit. The defense is still going to be filthy because you just don't stack recruiting class after recruiting class and not have a good defense. You still have Keely Ringo and Jalen Carter, who are both probably going to be top 10 picks. You don't have 2 top 10 picks on defense and have a bad defense. That being said, you're going to have to play some good teams. Oregon's a top 10 team, and I think we keep forgetting that, right? Dan Lanning's their new head coach, and we're like, okay, they made a coaching change. In our minds as college football fans, that means there was something wrong with the program. No, Mario Cristobal got what he viewed as a promotion. Dan Lanning's not inheriting a broken program. He's inheriting a potential conference champion program, and they're coming in to beat Georgia week 1, right? So Stetson Bennett's going to have to come in as the starting quarterback and lead this football team and put up some points. They're going to sell out to stop the run, try to make him beat them. I've seen that tight end room. I've seen those wide receivers, and I've seen Stetson Bennett do it in the college football playoff. I think he can, and I think he will, and I think the lack of credit that he's being given, and just honestly, it's a little bit disrespectful that he's receiving. I think he's feeding on that, and he almost has like that villain look in his eyes, like, I like this.
Christian, obviously Georgia offensively could be very dynamic. We heard some folks talking today about Georgia and the tight ends, and could they have 2 and 3 tight ends on the field at the same time and revolutionize college football with a new way of doing things and the number of tight ends they're able to do. How much do you buy into that? Because I know I've talked to you about different teams, different programs doing things. You're like, look, at the end of the day, football's football. You're not creating anything new. You're just putting athletes in a position to win. Is that more what you see with Georgia, or do you think there is something up the sleeve that we can see with those 3 guys that maybe we haven't seen in college football?
Kevin, listen, putting 3 tight ends on the field is nothing new. Now, I know there's some kids who are born after like 2000 who are like, 3 tight ends, is that even legal in football? But going back to when Ben played, 3 tight ends on the field was the norm for a lot of teams because you wanted to block and then you wanted to hit the play action and hit those guys on the run. The thing that's cool is these are 3 different kind of athletes for Georgia at tight end. You have Darnell Washington, who we saw like kind of what he could be in the SEC championship when he's just dunking on Henry To'oTo'o in the end zone. And there's literally no one that exists on Alabama's roster that could have stopped him from doing that. And so you can see what he does. Brock Bowers is obviously an All-American. Could be after like Will Anderson, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Jackson Smith, and Jigba could start falling in there as like best players in the country conversation. And then you add an Eric Gilbert, who if he can get back to what he was at LSU, just adds another threat. So I don't think Georgia's going to reinvent the wheel this year. I think they're just going to play matchups. I think they're going to try to get the ball out in space to really talented athletes and let them make plays. What I have found so interesting, and it's not just this year, but it's been for a few years, Georgia's the school of Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, Todd Gurley, all at the same time. Right? In the not too distant past, you've had Thomas Brown, Noshawn Moreno, Craig Lumpkin, Danny Ware, Caleb King, Wayshawn Ely. Like, it's a school that is centered around running backs. No one's talking about running backs. And you have multiple 4 or 5 stars that are coming in there to play this year. Kenny McIntosh has been really, really, really good. Kendall Milton, if he lives up to the hype, should be an absolute monster. Dejon Edwards, when he's gotten carries, has been excellent. You go get Branson Robinson, who's like looks like a bigger Nick Chubb kind of a guy. I'm so shocked that we haven't heard more conversations about the running backs because none of what Georgia wants to do on offense works without a guy who's picking up 4 or 5 yards a clip. And I think Georgia's running game with Stacey Searles as the offensive line coach now, who's a guy who had North Carolina leading the ACC in rushing last year, could be dynamic and dominant this year.
Going to my Gators, Christian a little bit. Anthony Richardson, AR as he's known now. I mean, he, obviously, getting away from the other nickname that he was known for. He looks the part. If you had a chance to see him, is he the part though? Because the thing about it is every time you show him, you seen him jumping over people, doing the things that only he could do. Can he play the quarterback position and do those mundane things? Throw the ball away, get out. Throw the ball away, get down on 3rd down. And if he can do that, how much better do you think he makes a Florida team that's not expected to do that much this year in the East?
I don't think I'm hyperbolic when I say he's Cam Newton talented. Like talented, body type, speed, arm. He was at the Manning Passing Academy. As though you've seen some of those videos, he was making other amazing quarterbacks' arms look pedestrian. Like the dude's special when it comes to spinning the football. I thought last year, Ben, it was unfortunate for him because we saw what happened at the end of Dan Mullen's tenure. It wasn't a good look for anybody on that team, and he got put in some really hard situations. Like, hey, listen, I just need you to go out in Jacksonville as a freshman quarterback and just take on the number 1 defense that we've seen in a long time. And just, make the correct reads and get it done. You're going to throw pick 6 against Nakobe Dean, right? You're going to make bad reads and get the ball tipped by the number 1 overall pick in Travon Walker and get picked off by Nolan Smith, who will be a first-round pick. That's going to happen. I think the best thing you can do if you're a Florida fan listening to this and you want an idea of what you can expect to see from Florida on offense, go back and watch Levi Lewis at Louisiana and what Billy Napier did with him at quarterback. Now add the talent and the skill set that an Anthony Richardson had. Levi Lewis was a borderline NFL quarterback. I think he's played in some of the XFL or USFL, one of the two. But Anthony Richardson has the potential to be a top 4 or 5 pick this year, right? If you could dial it in, he can get some help on the offensive line. I don't see any reason why he can't be an extraordinary quarterback for Florida.
Our own Christian Gokel there at the College Football Hall of Fame and the SEC Media Days. And you talk about things getting not a lot of attention. Kentucky there today. Christian will get the full media vote tomorrow with how they do it. But some people saying, I think Kentucky could be 2 behind Georgia. I mean, again, now there's a huge gap behind Georgia and everybody else, but Kentucky could be 2. Are you surprised that, again, Georgia's going to soak up a lot of oxygen in the room? Everybody's in love with how fast Tennessee runs their offense, but I mean, could this Kentucky team actually be legit good? Could they be the second best team in the East?
I don't think they can be legit good. I think they are legit good. I think that team is excellent. I think Will Levis is what he's cracked up to be, right? I think all of what we've heard about him, what we saw last year, we can expect him to expand on that now this year. He's another NFL quarterback that's going to be playing for Kentucky this year. You have a dynamic running game. You're always going to have good offensive linemen. If there's one worry, I'd say for Kentucky, it'd be pass catchers and just how deep are they at that spot. But the defense is going to be solid. And what I find fascinating is outside of the COVID year, what we're starting to see now more and more is last SEC game for both of these teams, typically it's Georgia, Kentucky, and they've been playing for the SEC East Championship. And so if I'm Mark Stoops and I'm looking at this, I'm saying if I can get there with one loss, it's so hard to go undefeated up into that point. If I can get there with one loss, and I believe their crossovers are the Mississippi schools this year from the West. So get there with one loss and you're playing Georgia just one off. If I beat you, I'm going to Atlanta. And how massive would that be for a Kentucky program? So when you say dark horse, I don't think it's dark horse. I think Will Levis puts them in any game that they're playing in.
Mark Stoops is a guy that's never ever going to get the pub he's supposed to get as well, because when you go to you go to Kentucky, it's always, Kentucky, the basketball school where they play some football. But how much more dangerous does it make a Kentucky team that Will Levis is a proven passer? Rodriguez is coming back being a proven rusher to go with an offensive line that's going to be top 1, top 2 in the conference when you're talking about blocking. And the scrappy way they play, is it because where they go compared to how they play, Christian, or is it just the fact that Kentucky is used to this? Man, y'all expect us to be competing against Vanderbilt and Mizzou for bottom of the barrel, and we got 8-9 win teams consistently now.
I was going to say, if you're thinking of Kentucky as competing for the bottom of the barrel, you're just not paying attention to how good Mark Stoops has been, right? We just talked to Peter Burns, be able to hear that interview tomorrow, and he said, man, you think Florida State feels bad now looking at what Mark Stoops has been able to do after they kind of just passed him over and said, Mark maybe as a fallback option, but we have better options, right? Do you? Because I think the coaching job that he does year in and year out with the talent and the resources that program has is just about as good as anyone in the country. And there's been teams that now have come calling. And he's like, no, I've built something at Kentucky now, and I'm winning consistently now. And I'm in the SEC, and we're about to get broke off like $1 billion. So I'm probably going to be sticking around here for a little while. But no, it's a good football team, and he's done an excellent job of building his program. I've heard some stories today about him pulling people aside a few years back when everyone was just asking him basically questions like, man, how do you fight for a bowl spot? He pulled people aside, and he was ticked, and he was like, we're good. We're good. If you're like, coaches are supposed to say that, but as emphatic as he was, people were like, okay, I believe him. And so they kind of moved Kentucky up in their order. And what does Kentucky do? Go out and finish second in the East. So this is a team that's going to compete, and they're going to be really good. I will say this. If you're not a Kentucky fan, they're not going to be fun to watch, right? They're just going to play solid defense. They're not going to let you burn you over the top. It's going to be hard to run against them. They're not going to be whipping the ball all over the field 20, 30 yards at a time. They're going to be handing the football off. They're going to be picking up first downs pro style with Will Levis, and they're just going to be playing space and trying to win football games and not turn the ball over, right? They're not going to be fun to watch, but when you look up at the end of the season, they're probably going to have 10 wins.
Yeah, interesting team, fascinating to watch. Finally, Christian, Arkansas there, obviously they've got Georgia connections. Sam Pittman there at Arkansas, I think, has done a very good job turning around a program that was just terrible. I think that's fair to say when he took over. Where do you see them? Obviously, they have an uphill battle. Everybody's asking about, well, hey, what about when Texas and Oklahoma come in? That's Texas' huge rival with Arkansas from way back when. How do you see Sam Pittman, and how do you think he is positioning Arkansas now? Because he's trying to grow the program, but also knows, hey, I've got a huge rival coming into the league in a couple of years, maybe 3, but maybe a couple of years. How do you think he's trying to position Arkansas with where he's at in that rebuild?
Yeah, Arkansas is a fascinating team because they're, I believe, 9-win team from last year that has a quarterback that's returning. That there's no question who their guy is. It's KJ Jefferson's team, and there's a lot of mobile quarterbacks in the SEC this year. I think Hendon Hooker, Stetson Bennett, Anthony Richardson, guys like that. KJ Jefferson is, I'm going to try to run your defensive end over kind of quarterback, a quarterback power, right? We call it like a 11 power, right? You're running between the guard and the center with a quarterback, which most coaches are horrified to do. You have him coming back. You have a Sam Pittman coached offensive line and recruited offensive line that's going to be there. You have Jalen Catalon back on that defense, as well as Bumper Pool, best name in the SEC right there. So the defense is good. They lost some guys, but they also went out and made some additions inside the transfer portal. They get a Latavius Brini from Georgia, who's excellent. They get Matt Landers from Georgia as a wide receiver who's really good. And then they go get Jaden Hazelwood, who was a 5-star out of Cedar Grove. Kevin, I know you remember watching him in the state championship games here in Georgia, who Georgia came down to them in Oklahoma for him, and he elects to go to Oklahoma. He's transferred over to Arkansas now, so they replaced Traylon Burks with him. So this is a really talented roster, but here's the other thing. There's a legitimate shot, and Arkansas fans are going to be mad at me, that they start 1-5. The schedule is brutal. They start with Cincinnati at home, which I get they should be favored in that game, but Cincinnati under Luke Fickell has won over 25 games the last 2 seasons. Then you go host South Carolina with Spencer Rattler. You're going to beat Missouri State, but then it's Texas A&M in Arlington, Alabama in Fayetteville, and then at Mississippi State. So it's a really good team with an absolutely nasty schedule. But here's the dream for Sam Pittman, Kevin. Get to Alabama at 4-0 or 3-1. Because then you can welcome in Alabama on October 1st to your stadium with 1 loss or undefeated. And regardless of what happens in that game, the hype around it is kind of what you need to take the next step as a program. Alabama's that barometer game. Arkansas hung with them for 2.5 quarters last year. But if you want to be good and you're like, hey, we feel like we can compete for second place, compete with Alabama, how many times, Ben, have we seen it before where Georgia or a Florida will start feeling good about themselves, and then Alabama comes to town and hangs like a 42-10 on you, and then you're like, okay, maybe we just need to tear it all down because clearly whatever we're doing is not working. That's going to be such a barometer game. If Nick Saban just comes in and choke slams Arkansas, that could be hugely deflating. But on the flip side, if you keep that a close game, that could be just hot air into your balloon for a program that I think could be really good.
And Christian, I mean, when you talk about is Sam Pittman the Mark Stoops of the West? Because at the end of the day, both of them, and obviously that they're together right now, because it's almost like we expecting Arkansas to be Arkansas, and they won't.
Yeah.
We expecting Kentucky to be Kentucky, and they won't. Everybody got the memo but Mark Stoops and Sam Pittman. They finding a way to get it done. And if you lose to Alabama, and if you lose to Georgia, well, everybody loses to them, right?
It's fascinating because I think Sam Pittman, more so than any coach, and that's why I say it's fascinating, because there's some younger coaches in this league, some guys that really deal well with the NIL. I think he has the best approach to how he's handling the changing landscape. He's not resistant. He's like the Bruce Lee of the mind, right? He's like, just be like water. He's like, you can't control that stuff. I can't control whether NIL is going to be something that comes around. I can't control conference realignment. What I can control is I could promise you as a student athlete, I'm going to give you the best opportunity to build on your NIL, to make you a better football player, to get you to wherever you want to go. And that's Sam Pittman's whole philosophy. And that goes back to his time as a position coach, as the best offensive line coach in the country. He did that with Georgia's offensive line, right? Ben, you know, prior to Kirby Smart and Sam Pittman getting there, Georgia's offensive line was a liability for a long time, and now it's one of the best units consistently in the country every single year. So the dude knows how to coach ball, and he's just relaxed about it. He's like, listen, we're going to get our guys. We're going to coach them up. I have Barry Odom, who's one of the best defensive coordinators in college football, on the other side of it, so I don't really have to worry about that. And he's my sounding board as a previous SEC head coach. The way that they've built that, it feels like the foundation is really strong, I guess is the best way to put it. And Sam Pittman, interestingly enough, seems to be the coach in the SEC who's navigating these waters with the least resistance.
Our own Christian Gokel there at the College Football Hall of Fame SEC Media Days. Christian, one more day to go. We'll check in with you tomorrow.
All right, brother.
Christian Gokel joining us here on 3 and Out. We'll come back with more all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Wednesday. College football right around the corner. Practice is going to be starting in just a couple of weeks. Ben, getting ready for the start of the college football season. Coaches making their rounds today. We'll hear more from Kirby Smart coming up in just a little bit. But Billy Napier today talking about the Florida Gators. And I thought some interesting questions thrown his way. Ben, I think one person said, hey, you know, the previous 3 guys didn't make it 4 years. They got fired. What's going to make you, any different? I thought he had some good answers there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all aware that if you can win your division, if you can win the conference championship here, you can be a national championship contender. The playoff is there. The path, it's been proven, but to go back to what you're talking about, I think, we're consumed with Florida right now. I mean, we've got a lot of grass to mow, right? And it's our grass, not anybody else's. So, we've got a lot of work to do. When you take over an organization, a team, you quickly get to work on, what are the issues, what are the problems, coming up with really good solutions. It's one day at a time. It's one person at a time, right? And I think that's the approach that we're taking. We'll look up at the end and see where we're at. But right now, we got a lot of work to do. It's critical that we stay on task and focus on what we can do to help the Gators get better each and every day.
So Billy Napier, yard man, mowing his own grass there at Florida. But I think he also spoke to the fact, look, it's Florida. It's in the SEC. If you win your division, and this has been proven out. I mean, you can't – if you win the division and you go to Atlanta, more than likely you will control your destiny to play in the college football playoff, right? And that's what it takes right now to win a national championship. So I thought an interesting answer. I know he kind of sidestepped some stuff. That's all the coaches do. But an interesting answer there when he talked about, hey, how are you going to win at Florida when so many people expect, Tennessee's better. Obviously, Georgia's there. And he said, look, we got to worry about our own yard before we start worrying about what they're doing in Athens, in Knoxville, et cetera.
I like the fact that he didn't disrespect the previous coaching regimes because he understands the different. I mean, just because you have Florida, you under different circumstances. But the one thing that Billy Napier understands right now was at the University of Florida, you do not get to hide. Like just because you don't got the talent level of Alabama, the talent level right now of Georgia, who cares? They expect you to go out there and get it done. Billy Napier gets there. The first thing he does is he said, "Look, we got to reshape the culture." So he got just as many assistant coaches as he got coaches. I'm looking around. What did Alabama have? They got coaches, they got, and they got all these consultants and all these different people on campus. What does Georgia have? We got all these analysts and coaches. So what does he do? Hey man, I need about almost $8 million for my assistant coaches and my support staff. Then he started talking about implementing different things like identity. But when he said, look, man, we got to cut our own grass, man. I cannot get to worrying about Dan Mullen still set a barometer for me. He's the only coach to go to back-to-back New Year's Six bowls when he first got there. People look at how it ended, not what you did when you was there. With Billy Napier, he is saying, look, man, but
isn't that what got Dan Mullen in trouble? Is starting to worry about everybody else,
yes.
With the,
yes.
I'm going to go up to Eli Drinkwitz after the game. I'm going to go do all this and that. And isn't that kind of where he started to get off track?
Well, Kevin, it comes back to the moniker of the same reason why they hire you will be the exact same reason why they fire you. Dan Mullen, he was the type of guy that when it was going good, he was good. I mean, he got Darth Vader outfits on, starting fights, before halftime against,
Missouri,
it seemed like Missouri then. But when it goes bad, you start calling guys, you got a bunch of independent contractors out there saying things like, hey, man, I mean, we really not getting things done, putting the blame out there instead of right here. Billy Napier is saying, look, man, I'm a guy that's coming from the Sun Belt. That a lot of my players did not know who I was. A lot of Gainesville did not know who I was. A lot of Gator Nation did not know who I was. I got to prove it now like I proved it over there. I got to make sure that Florida is not a team in the SEC. It's one of the teams. And he knows he's got an uphill battle because you know what, Kevin, at the end of the day, if I don't get it in recruiting, I could be the best developer out there. But when I got players that got 5 and 4 stars next to their name, it's going to make my scheme look incredible. But he is saying the right things, focusing on what he got, his task at hand, and don't make it about nobody else but him.
And he was asked about Anthony Richardson, where a lot of people think, got a high ceiling, but it hasn't been realized yet, obviously. And someone asked him about Anthony Richardson at the quarterback spot.
In every job, right? I mean, these are big decisions, and a lot goes into the research leading up to those decisions. And I think that I've been impressed with the leadership at Florida, right, in terms of their awareness, what's required to be competitive at this level, their investment in the Hebner Center, the resources it took to build this new facility, I think is going to help us in recruiting. It's going to help us acquire players. It's going to help our player experience, right? It's going to help our efficiency as an organization. And they were committed to our vision and our plan, right? I think we're 20% bigger as an organization. We've modernized the approach, but we've got an incredible product. I mean, we have history, we have tradition, we have an elite degree. We have one of the best experiences for scholar athletes in the entire country. And it's been done before, and they're passionate about doing it again, right? And I think they understand maybe why there's been struggle, and I think they're working hard to address those things. But I love a challenge, and this is a challenge. And, I think we can get caught up in all that, or we can see an unbelievable opportunity, and that's exactly what I see. As far as Anthony Richardson's concerned, I've been impressed. I think he's remained humble. He's got a little bit of an edge. I think he wants to prove himself. He's still relatively an inexperienced player. I think he's played 221 plays or something like that. He's completed 33 passes. He has tremendous ability. He's working hard to develop, improve as a person, as a leader. He's working hard to increase his football IQ. His skill is developing, and I think he's prime to have a phenomenal year. But we've got a lot of work to do, right? And I think I told him, I can still remember in the spring game, I could see he had some urgency about him. And I told him, I said, it's important, this energy that you feel right now, you got to bring that and channel that energy each day between now and the next opportunity in the stadium. So we've seen that. Our routine for the quarterback is rigorous. He's embraced that, and he's making great strides. So, and I know he's looking forward to the opportunity.
So there you have Billy Napier. You're talking about his quarterback. Less than 40 completed passes during his time at Florida, and a lot of people hoping that it goes next level there at Florida at the quarterback spot. We're up against it, Ben. I was going to let you sound off. Let's get to break. I'll let you respond on the other side. 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Ben, just quick thoughts there. Anthony Richardson that we were talking about there last segment.
I can appreciate Billy Napier just being open, honest, and transparent when it comes to a guy like guy like Anthony Richardson. You know how many people didn't realize he had only completed 33 passes all year because they get caught up in these Superman, super athletic moments. Can he take that athleticism, bottle it up, and help him play the quarterback position, and when needed, open up that cape? Because he has that ability. Because Kevin, you hear this, his ceiling. Well, he has a floor as well. And somewhere in between, he got to figure out what his limitations is, limit that, play the quarterback position. But I like the fact that Coach Napier is saying, look, man, I love him, but I got to humble him before he gets out there on the field, because when them lights are the brightest, Kevin, he got to be ready to shine.
We'll come back. Final hour. We'll hear from Kirby Smart, also Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, Nolan Smith. We'll hear from him as well. It's 3 and Out. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, final hour of the program. We'll hear from Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, also Nolan Smith, there from the University of Georgia, chatting with our own Christian Gokel. We'll hear from him coming up in just a little bit as well. Of course, day 3 there at SEC Media Days, Ben, and Kirby Smart front and center there at SEC Media Days. And he had obviously a lot to say about that Georgia Bulldog program and what's coming here in 2022.
You know, we started this thing off last year with the quote, success comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. Well, we embraced that last year, and guess what? That doesn't change. So for our team, it's embedded in what we do. You know, we didn't build this program on hoping for one-year wonders or hoping for one opportunity. We built the program to be sustained, and you sustain it by what you do every single day. And this program was built to be here for a long time, and we have an unbelievable footprint with which we get to recruit. So the 5 hour of Athens, Georgia gives us a chance to be around some of the best football student athletes there are in the country. So we'll continue to recruit those, develop those, also going nationally. But the team that we have coming back, I've been around, done the rounds this morning. I'll bet you at least 50 people have asked me the question. So feel free when we open up for questions to ask me the concern there is for complacency. That does not concern me in the least, because to be complacent, you have to have done something and achieved something. The men on this team for this season have not done that. They have not. We had 15 players that are now gone to NFL camps or draft picks. They're gone. And we have some returning players, but they're hungry as ever. People have asked the question, how does it feel to be hunted? We will not be hunted at the University of Georgia. I can promise you that. The hunting that we do will be done from us going the other direction. It's not something we're going to sit back and be passive about. Our guys have asked questions, and we've done a lot of studies on how the mighty have fallen. So we have skull sessions. We have 15-minute meetings, 20-minute meetings in breakout groups, and we've actually taught how the mighty have fallen. I'm talking about in business. I'm talking about in sports. I'm talking about in history. So you learn from the mistakes of others. And for us, it really steers down to one cultural belief that we have a connection that's greater than our opponent. We're all going to be tough. We're all going to be physical in the SEC. But can we be better connected together? Can we have 1 + 1 = 3? Because for us, 1 + 1 = 3 means we get more together than we do apart. And this team believes that. I'm excited about this team because there's a lot of opportunity. People say, do you have the talent? Do you have enough talent within your program? We've got plenty of talent. What we lack right now is experience. That's our job as coaches, to put those guys in a position to be successful and react in a calm manner and have the experience they need to go play well against Oregon. That game will help for our SEC gauntlet that we have coming up after that.
So there you go, Kirby Smart, kind of the opening salvo there, Ben, saying, look, complacency, we haven't done anything. You hear that a lot from teams that win. What happened last year has nothing to do with these guys. Even though some of these guys were on that team, a lot of those guys are getting their chance at first major snaps, their first time at major snaps here. How do you as a player like that message? Because I understand the point behind it, what you're trying to make, but you did something. You can't say that, well, we can't be complacent because we haven't done anything, at least this group. Well, some of those guys did. You did something that hadn't been done in 40 years at the University of Georgia. And I'm not saying you don't try to move beyond that, but I understand it, but to me, it's like, they have done something. And how do you build upon that versus like this group? We haven't done anything. I mean, I get the point behind it, but as a player, you in lockstep when your coach comes in and says, guys, that was last year. This is this year. Y'all haven't done anything.
Yes, because I need my mindset to be to mirror that of my head coach. There are a lot of guys who, they get to say, man, we was a part of this. A lot of guys that was on the team last year that were part of were not key contributors, but they get to come back. And Kevin, the thing is like, why do we have new seasons every year? No matter who wins the last year, what can you do now? We talk about, he talked about, sustainability. That's the hardest ability there is. Sustainability is the hardest ability there is when it comes to sports. Because now, okay, we built this standard. Now the standard is the standard. You got to maintain it. He talked about connectivity. When it comes to the players, 1 + 1 to Georgia is 3. Meaning, hey, dude, we got to look at everything differently. But the thing he did that I think separate him, I want to show you how the mighty fall, how the mighty have fallen. I want it to be in your mindset of, we don't want to fall off this cliff. Because everybody now, Kirby said, you thought they was waiting on us to lose before. Now, if we do it, and that's a slim if, see, they're not who we thought they were. Because the one thing that Nick Saban does, when he wins championships, he might smile for a second. But you might do, he don't even see me, because he knows, all right, we done it. So we celebrated. It's time to move on. I've seen Bill Belichick after the New England Patriots win the Super Bowl, and everybody's going crazy with the first game. He's over like this, because he knows, man, y'all celebrating what we've done already. We've done it already. I think what Kirby Smart is trying to let this team know is, look, you see what happens when y'all buy into each other? When y'all buy into what we coaching, when y'all buy into what we selling, we got a shot. Because Kevin, last year was incredible, but it was some forks in the road, because you don't judge Georgia on the teams they're better than. You judge them on the teams that can beat them. When Georgia lost in the SEC championship game, Kirby goes, all right, now I don't got to say nothing else. See, when we go undefeated, we beating everybody. Now y'all see why we work as hard as we do. Now y'all gonna stop the oohs and the ahs and the looks when I tell y'all it's supposed to be hard. Winning championships, the teams have done it. It don't feel good because you do what no other team is doing. You have to. What separates the good from the great is so small that, you can't even really see it. What Kirby is trying to say is, look, fellas, it's going to be even rougher this year. It's great that we got Brock back. It's great that we got Stetson back, and we got, Carter and different guys back, and Warren McClendon and different guys back. That's last year. Those guys that was on the team last year that were key contributors, they gone. He said we sent 15 guys to the NFL. 15. That's drafted, by the way.
Yeah.
So I do think that Kirby Smart is, like I said, the mood or temperament of any college or university. Look at their head coach, right? When you play Alabama, you expect, hey, dude, you ever met Nick Saban? Yeah. Even if you've never met him, you feel like you know him. And we've never met these people. So I do think what Kirby Smart is really saying is this: over here, 1+1. I guarantee you, count how many 1 + 1 = 3 shirts you're going to see next year with your. They're already coming out. They're already coming out. But Kirby also understands the main thing when it comes to Georgia. You're fighting for your reputation every single day, as well as the tradition that's already been created. Because now, Kevin, they're talking about the championship tradition because they just did it. It ain't a championship, what we could do. 5-star culture, 5-star players, 5-star results. Can you do it again?
Yeah. Again, a lot to stack up there. Of course, every coach that's stopped by has been asked about NIL. I think they probably even asked Clark Lee about NIL at Vanderbilt. And Kirby addressed his thoughts on NIL earlier today as well.
Yeah, the pivotal question, right? Everybody waits for that one for all the conversation. But, the NIL program we have in place, we have a Classic City Collective run by Matt Hibbs, who does a tremendous job. It's built on being sustainable, because I don't think what's going on in college football right now at some places is sustainable. Meaning, can you do that year in and year out and repeat that? Can you honor the commitment that some people are trying to make to kids to get them to go to their school? It's not good for college football what's out there. What is good is NIL is good on the basis of what NIL is based on. Okay, for Dan Jackson to be a walk-on from Gainesville, Georgia, and come in and get an opportunity to earn money for his education, that is good. For a young man that has a father that's on dialysis down in South Georgia, and he can't support his father unless he goes back home and works or he gets NIL, that is good. We have 95 players right now with NIL deals that are on our roster. That's incredible, the depth of that. There's so much good there. It's the guardrails, it's the parameters that we need to protect our game. And not only protect our game, guys, it's protect young men, okay? Because for, a young man we may have had the highest paid defensive lineman last year in NIL in Jordan Davis. We have the highest paid tight end in Brock Bowers in terms of NIL. Keely Ringo, I would argue, is probably one of the highest paid corners there is in NIL. So NIL can be a good thing, and they can learn to manage money at a young age. But to use it as inducement to get a young man to go to your school is not good for anybody or the game. I don't have the answer for how to guardrail that. But NIL has been good to Georgia, and it's been good to our players, and it'll continue to be.
Well, I mean, of course. That goes without saying. I mean, that's, for the same reason that Nick Saban stays up there and goes, hey, NIL, it's a problem. I mean, I don't know how to fix it, but I mean, we at Alabama and our brand, we accentuate the student athletes brand. Kind of what Kirby said. I mean, NIL has been good for us, but there's guardrails and look, yeah, the top programs are going to have more guys. Why? Because you're the top program. You're going to have more recognizable guys there. But to me, this whole NIL process, Ben, is one that's been very interesting because a lot of people agree on what the issue is. but they usually follow it up with, and I don't know how to fix it, right? Like, hey, we all agree that NIL is good. We think students should be able to earn money, especially off themselves. If I do a YouTube channel, I want to go home and do a camp. I want to do whatever. I want to sell my SEC championship ring. I want to sell my national championship ring. It's mine. I should be able to do that, right? Okay, fair enough. All right, how do you keep folks from going over the top and cheating and saying, if you come here, basically what we've tried to protect against what was already happening. Hey, you come here, $100,000, it's yours. Oh, you don't really have to do anything as far as marketing. We'll just give it to you. How do you protect against that? And for that, everybody says, I don't know. So we realize there's a problem that needs some kind of guidance, but nobody has any answers for it. And I think that's what Kirby was talking about. We saw a lot of folks who have said that. Lane Kiffin said, hey, I mean, if a guy comes to Ole Miss and he's got an NIL deal from a booster to play and I don't think he's any good, does that guy get to call my office and say he's playing? And I say, no, sir. And when he said, oh, he's playing, I get fired? I think that's what the concerns are for a lot of coaches. Like, NIL should have nothing to do. It should, and it shouldn't. It should have nothing to do with what you do on the field, but it does. Are you good, Brock Bowers? Yeah, well, you're probably opening yourself up for more NIL deals. But there should not be we're going to give you this money, and then we're going to call Kirby Smart and say, this guy's playing. Why? We got a marketing deal. If he's sitting on your bench, that's no good for us. Well, I don't care about that. I care about my team winning, right? So it's a complicated process, but I do find it interesting that coaches know, man, like, not supposed to be facilitating deals for athletes. Oh, we got a collective. They're doing great. 95 guys on our team got NIL deals. Now, I saw some research that said the average NIL deal around D1 college, somebody did the research through a calendar year, average NIL deal, I think was about $2,500 for just your average. Obviously, there's out. So if that's the average, when you see so-and-so got $1 million, that's skewing it up. So in reality, you take the top 1% off, the average NIL deal is probably less than $1,000 per student athlete. But I mean, 95 guys. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say this out because name, image, likeness mean you have a name, you have a likeness that's being used for a brand, or you have a social media channel. Can you name 95 guys on Georgia's roster?
No.
If you're a Georgia fan, I would be willing to bet if you're a Kirby Smart, could you name all 95 guys on your roster? No. That's more than you have scholarships.
Yes.
I'm not saying you can't, but like, hey, get a pen and paper and start writing down all 95. Like, could you do it? Like, that seems like a big number. Seems like a big number of guys that have quote NIL deals, unless it's one of those like, hey, everybody on the team got it, and there you go.
If I'm in that main room talking to Kirby Smart, I would ask him one thing. I would say, Coach, did you benefit from NIL? Yeah, case closed. Like, because see, everything you say outside of, you're trying to make it seem like it's the boogeyman. Hey man, but we got to no. How do you protect your players with no NIL? How do you protect 95 players that got 95 personalities that want to do 95 different things away from football? Yeah, we give them a structure. Yeah, build a structure around it. You don't think that collective didn't talk with Kirby Smart before they said, hey, Coach, we're about to go live with this thing. We would love for you to give us an endorsement, right? Because the whole thing about it is, Kevin, this is the thing. NIL is not the boogeyman, and I'm not counting people's money, right? I'm not counting people's money. When you go, man, we had the highest paid player, D-lineman in the country, that's Jordan Davis. Why are you using his name? Why? Because you're attached to him forever. So whatever Jordan Davis does in Philly, y'all going to attach to it. I remember when the Rams won the Super Bowl, former Georgia Bulldog, Matthew Stafford. You got to treat it the same way. And like you say, Kevin, let's call it what it is. Y'all the one started with the money. NIL could be, I don't know, free stuff. That's what I think about when I hear about NIL. So listen, I know that this is how I look at NIL like this. If you are a student athlete that go to these schools, you should be getting something. What does something means, Ben? Anything. It don't always
not just scholarship.
Exactly. No, because
I'm just going to throw it out because that's what people say.
I'm going to say this, Kevin. Think about this. Kevin and Ben go to college, go to college at the same time. I am there on an athletic scholarship. You are there on an academic scholarship, right?
Full ride academic?
Full ride.
Okay.
Full ride academic. Full ride. We are roommates.
So we're both getting about, depending on where you go, 15, 20 grand a year in free stuff.
So we're roommates. Every day you call me, you say, man, I'm about to go home, man. Listen, I got to go to practice. Hey, man, I'm going to see you later. It's going to be way later. They'll say, man, what time you get in the room? Sometimes I get here at 9. Like, you're seeing my workload. Now, that comes with it because I'm an athlete. I got here as an athlete. We both getting the quality education. But when your day ends is when my day begins. I am not complaining about it. The difference is my coach has got a $10 million contract extension. So at the end of the day, These coaches never talk about what they get, and you think they are getting it. and I'm not complaining, Kevin. I'm just saying, Mark Richt last year at Georgia, he got $4.5 million. Kirby Smart, when he first got, they got 3.5. He's already at 7. All I'm saying is the money seems to be going up for them coaches, and they think the NIL is a boogeyman.
All right, let's go to the phones quickly. Let's go to Ray. Ray, welcome to 3 and Out.
Hey guys, really good commentary on this subject, and honestly, I think it goes back to shows you've done a year, 2, 3 years back when this NIL stuff first started coming out. I remember the things you were saying then, and it all goes back to one thing. It's like the boogeyman is no longer alive, and the boogeyman is the NCAA, right? I mean, remember the days back when Pete Carroll was the coach, and all these other guys, and the NCAA would, hey, here's the rules, here's the structure, here's the framework. And if we catch you outside of the lines, we're going to take away your ability to go to bowl games. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Everybody knew if you saw a headline with the NCAA on it, somebody was toting a whooping in the principal's office. You know what I mean? And when they completely failed to get ahead of this, here's my analogy. So let's say you have a business, a nightclub or something like that, right? You got security at the front door, right?
Yep.
But what happens when everybody is actually coming in through the back door and now they're in the club? Okay? Literally everybody. You got 1 or 2 out front, but everybody else that got into the club, the other 200 people came in the back door because this is what happened with NIL. It came in through the back door because the security, the structure, the rules that were supposed to be there, the NCAA, was AWOL. And now you're leaving it up to coaches, individual programs. I mean, it's not even up to conferences because I guarantee you they can't, agree on everything. I mean, it's like, this is what happens. And that's why nobody has the answer because everybody's answer is different. There are no rules other than these guys deserve to get what they're getting. You came in with the attorneys through the back door. Now the club is full. Your bouncers out front are doing you no good.
Ray, wonderful phone call. I agree with a lot of what you said. And it's going to be interesting to see. Everybody talks about wanting guidelines, but nobody's offering up any guidelines at all.
Well, where are they going to get them from? I mean, the NCAA is not going to be able to come back out and say, okay, hey, we're going to regulate this. I mean, they're what, 2 years, 3 years behind? How are they going to do it?
100%. Ray, appreciate the phone call. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir.
Hey, again, I like the phone call from Ray. And again, pretty much everybody at SEC Media Days this week has said, hey, the problem is, even Nick Saban, problem is we don't have any frame. He's like, Alabama, we'll be fine. Whatever y'all want to do, we'll be good. And I think Kirby kind of said it the same way where it's like, hey, there's no structure, there's no framework. We got 95 guys with an NIL deal, so we're good. We put up a sustainable model.
Kevin, hold on. Somebody says, wait a minute, man. This thing ain't got no structure. You going to do it anyway? Yeah. Whoa. No. This thing has no structure. Yeah. So, but you going to do it? Yeah. So what are you doing it on? NIL. What is that? I don't know. But it ain't got, and that's the thing, right? So a coach can benefit from something that has no structure. Oh no, it has a structure. No one wants to say, this is what it really is, Kevin. No one wants to say, turn that music down. No one wants to be that person, right?
Yeah.
But somebody's gonna have to say it, because this is the thing, right? Somebody at a certain point, you live in a nice neighborhood. The people next door, they got a lot of kids in college. They got a lot of noise. Pretty soon, you say, you will do it, I'm gonna do it. But the problem is, Kevin, you went over there with your robe one night. You didn't say, turn the music down. You started walking through the party. And they put some in your hand. And you started drinking it. What Kevin at? He's over there with them. And that's
He's
what it
a part
really
of the
is. Because you are benefiting. That's like,
sure.
My bad, Mr. Thomas, man. We're going to turn our level. Give him a little something, man. It's nice over here, bro. Hey, so you see,
I don't wear robes, by the way, or bathrobes.
Yeah, Kevin wears Bill Cosby, pajamas when you go to bed, top and bottom, matching. But what I will say though, Kevin, at a certain point, somebody got to be the bad.
Yeah, hey, we got more to come. We'll come back. We'll hear from Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out on this Wednesday, day 3 of SEC Media Days. We'll get the official media predictions coming out late tomorrow from SEC Media Days, where the media votes will be tallied as to where they think it'll be. Obviously, I think, Ben, it's going to be Georgia and Alabama. No big shock. I mean, you look at the I don't know how they came up with this, but if you follow any of the other coverage out there of SEC Media Days, they put the like projected chance to win the SEC. Alabama's, I think, at like 48.5%. Georgia's at like 47.8%. And then the next team in third, 0.1. So it's like nobody has a chance.
Oh yeah. Vegas is like, so who y'all going with? I mean, no, you right, and the thing, and rightfully so. But it's the thing though, Kevin, like we were saying, it's like, look, if you had a big time program like a Texas A&M, like a Florida, like a LSU, you know what you end up getting? What? Recruiting, coaching, facilities. So even the big time programs are still winning, just not on the field right now. They are getting a whole bunch of stuff, not name winning SEC championship. But yeah, Kevin, I mean, if you're looking for percentages that's worth your while, don't look at second and third place. Because my goodness, you can put all their percentages together, and it probably won't even equal 5 or 6.
Let's check in at the College Football Hall of Fame. Our own Christian Gokel standing by with Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football.
Welcome back into ESPN Coastal's continuing coverage here at the beautiful College Football Hall of Fame of SEC Media Days 2022. Kirby Smart spoke a little bit earlier. We'll have some audio from his press conference, as well as Nolan Smith and Stetson Bennett up on the podium as well. But we couldn't get out of SEC Media Days without talking to Mr. CFB himself, Tony Barnhart, kind enough to take some time with us. We're going to catch up, speak about the Dodd Trophy here a little bit, which I know he's intrinsically involved in. But, Tony, we were just talking before the segment started. One of our favorite weeks of the year, just because it means football is right around the corner.
Well, it's exciting. My wife said, okay, summer's over, right? I said, well, it is. It is if you cover college football, right. It's over. And, and I get excited because, football season's coming. I know I'm going to be walking through the Publix later on this week, and people are going to say, man, when is it going to get here? People get so excited about college football. And so, this is a good week.
So before we dive into this season, what we heard so far this week, tell me about your relationship with the Dodd Trophy, because I know it's something that means a lot to you. You've been speaking on it this week. Tell us about your relationship.
Well, it was a Bobby Dodd National Coach of the Year award, and then Chick-fil-A has gotten involved. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl has gotten involved in a big, big way, and we're so grateful to them. It is now the Dodd Trophy, and it is different than other National Coach of the Year awards. There's a lot of them, and they honor great coaches. But the Dodd Trophy goes a step further. The Dodd Trophy takes into account academics. What do the players do academically? Community service. What are the players doing from a community service standpoint? What is the coach doing for a community service standpoint? The 3 pillars of the Dodd Trophy are scholarship, leadership, and integrity, which is what Coach Bobby Dodd stood for. But they came to me about a dozen years ago and asked me to get involved, and I was honored to do so and very happy to be promoting it here at SEC Media Days.
Yeah, just a few blocks away from Bobby Dodd Stadium itself. But Luke Fickell, the winner last year, and you mentioned not just being an amazing coach, which his team has been unbelievable the past few years, making it to the college football playoff last year as the first G5 team. What was it off the field that made him y'all's selection?
His players do a lot of good stuff from a community service standpoint. So does Coach Fickell. And one of the other things about the Dodd Award that we like to do that's unusual is that we present the award in the spring. We go to the campus of the recipient, big banquet. All of his peers are there, faculty, and all the officials of the school are there. And we sometimes try to do it during the spring game so we can again present the award during halftime of the spring game with the crowd there. We did that at Notre Dame several years ago when Brian Kelly won, and that was an absolute blast. So in many ways, the Dodd Trophy is just different than other coach. It involves more information about who the coach is and the kind of program he's running.
Now, I'm curious to get your opinion on something, because I know this has been an interesting, I guess is the best way to put it, off season, and an uncertain off season around the sport that you and I both love and everyone here really loves, right? You, before taking over as Mr. CFB, wrote for the Atlanta Journal. Was it the Constitution back when you were writing for it?
It was the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Yep.
Atlanta Journal-Constitution sports writer, but then transitioned to college football full time, right? So this is a passion for you, not just a job. So when you're looking at the state of college football right now, do you think, I don't want to say that the good outweighs the bad, but has the experience been tainted for you at all? Or I'm just curious where your emotions at right now.
No,
Because-
I'm obviously we've got more uncertainty surrounding the game than we've had in maybe ever when these meetings started. But I feel confident that we're going to work through these issues. We're going to work through NIL. We don't have a solution now. We're not even close to a solution. Does that concern me? Yes, because the model that we're working through now, Nick Saban said it yesterday, is not sustainable. It isn't. So they've got to come up with some sort of you got to have some. If you're going to have a game, you got to have some kind of rules. You can't have a game with no rules. So I'm concerned about that. The transfer portal doesn't worry me at all. I think one thing change you're going to see is it doesn't need to be open 365 days a year.
Yeah.
They need to have windows that allow you to transfer. And I think that is what's going to happen there. But, what is the college football playoff going to look like? I think we're moving closer to a 12-team college football playoff. What's the SEC going to do for a scheduling format? 8 games, take it to 8, go to 9. So there's a lot of uncertainty. But here's the ironic thing about all of this. With all of this uncertainty, the game on the field is better than it's ever been. It is a great game. It delivers every single Saturday that you watch, and people still have a passion for the game. So I am optimistic about the future because college football has always worked through its problems and come out the other side. They'll do it here, but there'll be the NIL thing is going to create a lot of angst before we're done.
I think hopefully by the end of it, something that's a positive, and anything that's putting money in the player's pocket, in my opinion, is an overarching good thing. But it's interesting that you just bring up the state of the game in and of itself. Once you get rid of everything peripherally and you just get to the stadiums and you get to watch the sport. I was talking with Ryan McGee yesterday about it. I got to go to Jordan-Hare for the first time this past weekend. Empty stadium, nobody on the campus because it's in the middle of summer, but you get like the goosebumps on the back of your neck when you're standing next to those stadiums just because of the history that's there. But just there's some sort of energy that comes from it. And with NIL, transfer portal, whatever realignment, that doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away. And you mentioned Jordan-Hare. 1989, Alabama played at Auburn for the first time in history. It still remains the most emotional day I've ever seen on a college campus. They had their Tiger Walk down from Sewell Hall down to Jordan-Hare Stadium, and I just sort of inserted myself into the Tiger Walk, and there were grown men who were crying.
Yeah.
That's how emotional that day was.
Speaking of grown men crying, Georgia won their first national championship since 1980 last year. We're obviously heavily involved as an affiliate with the Georgia Bulldogs here. And going back to that run last year, do you have a favorite moment, favorite memory, or just storyline from that team? Because it truly was special. The more we get removed from it, I think we're starting to appreciate it.
Well, what I will remember two things. What I remember the rest of my life is I've got a group of 3 fraternity brothers, and we go to the Georgia-Florida game together every year. We go down there early, and we play golf, and we tell lies about our misspent youth. And we were a lot handsomer then, and we lie about that as well. And so we're at the game. I'm working the game, but I'm tailgating with the boys before the game. And all of a sudden, this Georgia fan walks up to me. Don't have no idea who he is. He said, "Well, Tony, let me tell you this. I'm telling you right now, there is no way that Georgia can win a national championship with Stetson Bennett at quarterback. Just can't happen. Don't you agree?" I said, "Dude, not only do I disagree, you're flat wrong. I'm telling you, the guy can play." So fast forward to the national championship game in Indianapolis. I told the boys, I said, if Georgia makes it to the national championship game, we're going to go. And for the first time in 35 years, I'm going to sit with you in the stands.
Oh, wow.
And not go in the press box. And that's what we did. And obviously it was an incredible, you talk about emotional. One of my fraternity brothers, he's crying. He said 41 years is a long time to wait.
Right.
And so those 2 moments I will remember the rest of my life.
It's interesting because I was at that Jacksonville game as well. And TIAA Bank, really nice facility there for the Jaguars, one of the biggest press boxes in the country. But walking out from it, because it's completely enclosed, I do my best to try to convince one of the ushers to say, hey, nobody's sitting in that chair. do you mind if I sit here? The experience to me just so much different being down in the crowd than up in the press box.
Yeah, actually I've done it 2 times in the last 35 years.
Yeah.
And those people, by the way, are crazy. Have you noticed that? These people are nuts.
Just a little bit.
When Kaylee Ringo of Georgia ran that,
what was that noise like?
It was incredible because it started as soon as he intercepted it. And we were down on this end where he caught it, and then he'd run about 20 yards when it was like, oh my word, he's going to go all the way. He's got a corridor, and all of a sudden somebody's grandmother grabbed me and hugged me, and I do need to send her flowers, but it was an incredible moment. And like 5 minutes after the game, we got somebody to take our picture with the celebration going on in the background, and that was a really neat thing.
It was, as we're looking back on it, was a very romantic season, I guess is the best way to put it for Georgia fans in their memory. The most unromantic thing I can think of right now and business-like is this Alabama team coming into 2022. They were here yesterday, and Bryce Young called a 13-win SEC championship season a failure.
Yeah.
A failure. Will Anderson, a guy who I believe probably should have won the Heisman Trophy, but if not, then certainly been in Atlanta, is just locked in. It just seems like they're ready to go 15-0 and leave no doubt.
I wrote a column this morning on my website that Nick Saban, when I saw him yesterday, he is tan, he is rested, he is ready to rock and roll. The players are 13 wins. About the 7th time Nick Saban's done that, by the way.
Yeah.
Or more. 13 wins.
For reference, Ole Miss just had their first 10-win season ever.
Exactly. An SEC championship. You made it to the national championship game, and to them, 99% of the programs in America will be throwing a parade with that season. And Alabama said, well, we got to work on get better. And so, yeah, they are in a very interesting position as they go into the season. It's a hungry football team, and that's when Alabama's dangerous, when they're hungry.
So from our perspective in the state of Georgia, Alabama, I feel like undoubtedly going to win the SEC West. Even if they drop one, I don't see anybody else only going into Mercedes-Benz with one loss. Georgia, odds-on favorite to win the East again, even though the East, I think, a little bit more competitive than the West. Is there enough of development with this young defense and this young team for Georgia to get to the SEC championship and go blow for blow with Alabama again?
I expect Georgia to win every game they play this year, and then meet Alabama in Atlanta. I'm just looking at their talent level. They've recruited at a Nick Saban level, now a Kirby Smart level, for the last 5 years.
Right.
Yes, they lost 15 players to the NFL draft, but they're going to replace them with guys. Kirby Smart said it today. We got guys that are hungry. We got guys, they don't want to replace the guy. They want to be the next guy to hold that position. And I think that when you've got talent, you can do that. So you look at their schedule. I think they beat Oregon here in Atlanta to open the season, and the rest of the schedule sets up night. They get Tennessee at home.
Yeah.
So I just think they're in very good position.
My new favorite SEC tradition is Kentucky and Georgia playing the last couple of weeks of the season for the SEC East title.
Awesome.
Who would have thought that 6 years ago? Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, kind enough to take some time with us. Tony, tell the people where they can find your stuff if they want to read more.
Our website, I'm in business with 2 old newspaper buddies of mine, Mark Blaushin from Boston, who was with the Boston Globe for 30 years, Herb Gould with the Chicago Sun-Times for 25 years, and I was with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution for 25 years. Our website is under the Sports Illustrated umbrella, so that's si.com/colleges/TMG. TMG stands for the Media Guides, and we've got the country covered, and we just have a good time. So check us out.
Tony Barnhart joining our own Christian Gokel there at SEC Media Days. Back with more 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin and Ben, SEC Media Day is going on today, day 3. We'll have the final day tomorrow. We get the full media predictions tomorrow, Ben. I mean, unless you've been living under a rock, I think we all believe Alabama and Georgia are going to be the overwhelming picks to play in Atlanta there for the SEC championship. So I don't expect a whole lot of surprise there tomorrow when we get there. Did want to hit something real quick before we move on. Billy Napier was at the podium today, Ben. And of course, if you coach at Georgia or Florida, you're going to get asked, right, about Georgia and Florida. And somebody asked him, hey, do you think the game should be played in Gainesville and Athens? Kind of go back, mixing a little home and home. I thought he had an interesting response there when he was asked about the Georgia and Florida game.
Hey, Coach Trey Wallace from Outkick. Talking about the Florida-Georgia game, I know you haven't been around long enough right now in Gainesville to maybe make these decisions. Kirby Smart's talked about how he would like to see the game move to home and home venues. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I got asked that question earlier. I think the big thing is I want to experience the game first, right? I'd like to see that game in Jacksonville, experience that game before I have an opinion on that. But, you know, there's a lot of credibility to both, right? The home and home obviously would be fantastic, but there's also some tradition there. There's a rivalry there. You know, time will tell, you know, and I agree. That's above my pay grade. But I'm looking forward to the opportunity to participate in the game.
I thought a great answer there by Billy Napier, because, you know, it's kind of a bait question of, hey, you know, Kirby said he'd like to see it go, you know, home and this and that. He's like, well, can I coach him one first? You know, like it's tradition rich. How about you let me coach in Jacksonville, and then I can give you a better answer on what it is. But I mean, obviously here in South Georgia, you get a little bias to that fact, right? You want it in Jacksonville. It means a lot. It's tradition rich. But I thought a good answer there by Billy Napier about, hey, look, I'm not saying there's no merit to going home and home, but there's a lot of tradition involved in playing in Jacksonville. Let me coach in one of these things first before I give you a better answer.
There you go, Billy Napier. You see, that's that being a veteran head coach. I mean, I just got to this is my first SEC Media Days, man. I don't want to come out here from the gate talking about I want to go to Athens. I want to be in Athens. I want to be at home. Let me tell you, Kirby Smart this. Kirby Smart been saying the same thing. Man, it's recruiting weekend. There is no greater recruiting weekend for Georgia and Florida and Georgia, than the Florida-Georgia game. Stop it. You are number 2, number 3, usually number 1. You know, in some publications, as far as like recruiting, you were trying to get, listen, Florida and Georgia are kind of like Notre Dame and ACC. When it comes to football, we got a neutral site. Every other thing, we coming to Georgia. We coming to, because Kevin, do I really want to be the coach that get it out of Jacksonville and get it? Because yes, it will be great, but it also will be weird. There are certain things worth preserving, Kevin, and I think that is worth preserving. Yes, I'm speaking from the selfish part of me because of a person. Listen, I was a part of one of the only night games, you know, in Jacksonville. Leave it alone. Certain things, Kevin, aren't worth messing up. There you go, Billy Napier. Let me coach the game first. Let me coach in Jacksonville first. And when I've coached there for 15 years and I've won 4 national championships, don't.
Are we writing that?
I'll try to write it in.
Are we going to write that prediction? Ben Troop says Billy Napier going to win 4 national championships at the end of the day.
You know. No, I'm just saying. I mean, the Billy Napier, he understands, Kevin. I don't need no extra bulletin board material. I'm the new guy. I'm just trying to get in here, you know, and make sure Florida is one of the teams that try to be competing in this.
I mean, selfishly, I get it, but it is such a tradition-rich game in South Georgia. People love it. People make weeks out of this thing to come down and party, even when your team doesn't win and this, that. But look, it's something that's been going on forever. And I think Florida, Georgia will be weird. I know they did it back when they had to redo the stadium in Jacksonville where they went one in Athens, one in Gainesville. And it was weird. Right? It was back when Spurs, because like it happened and it was weird. Everybody's like, let's put it back in Jacksonville. Let's just leave it there and let it be what it is. Because now it used to be, you go down to Jacksonville and you just can't beat Steve Spurrier. I've suddenly heard not a lot of Georgia fans talk about moving the game since you've been smacking Florida all over the place. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's one of those things where it's like, it's fine where it is. The biggest gripe comes out when you lose, and you're like, I don't know about all this.
You make up more stuff when you lose games that, man, their stomach was hurting.
Yeah, I didn't
like that. I went over there to their locker room. Their ventilation wasn't as good.
Yeah.
No, stop it. When I was there, it was, they got the mind they got that mind game, winning
Yeah.
over there when it come to Georgia. I ain't heard nothing since.
But good, yeah, good on Billy Napier. I thought a great answer there in year one. Hey, something to play there first. We got more to come. 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Day 4 of SEC Media Days tomorrow. Jimbo Fisher going to be there. And then it'll be the fastest talking media days we ever had in our history of our life. Where Jimbo Fisher takes the stand tomorrow. He's going to talk 150 words a minute, and we're going to make sure we get everything we've got to say about Texas A&M out there for everybody to know.
That's him.
Let me talk about Nick Saban.
He gonna talk about Nick Saban, and he gonna try to keep it off him. And then listen. I've heard a lot of NILs. I heard Lane. I heard Nick. You know, I've even heard Kirby. But the man of the hour of NIL is tomorrow, and he's going to tell us something. What about that tape we saw, Coach? I ain't here to talk about that.
Those guys in the suites up there are going to be giving y'all money. What?
I bet you that guy's no longer on the staff. How about that?
So look forward to a final day of SEC Media Days. Tomorrow we'll have full coverage for you. Christian Gokel live in the ATL this week for us, and we'll check in with him tomorrow and some other great guests as well. See you tomorrow, 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network.